everyone, and welcome to the show where after the collision, we sift through
the wreckage.
The wreckage. I am your host, Jimmy T. He is my co-host, the best in the world, Jamie the Vet Williams. And Vet, please introduce our special guest that we have this evening, or today.
Man, we have quite a special guest. We are definitely punching above our weight class today. We have an author, comedian, podcaster, and a Princeton graduate. Also, Columbia. Hello. Okay, but more importantly than all of that stuff, he's an AEW fan somehow. So please, it is my great privilege to welcome from 1-900 Hot Dog, Denard Dale is with us today. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us the time. How are you?
I am excellent. I am happy to be here, and I appreciate the very kind words. I feel a little more pride about the other ones than the Columbia these days, but you do what you can. And I am happy to be here. I definitely feel like I drew well in terms of the episode I got to do. I really wish I could have done the Arena Mexico thing because all of that was nuts, but this is still a good time.
All right. So basically, I want to start out with the, I said author, right? So let's not, I don't want to say get this out of the way, like we're glossing over it. It's kind of a big deal. You just had a book launch a couple of weeks ago, and I want to know a couple of things, like number one, how's it going at this point? And then after that, I have another follow-up question, which we know where you come from is usually not allowed. Like Brockway does not allow follow-up questions, but in this case, I may ask you a follow-up question.
Wow. Anarchy on the questions. I'm ready for that. So yeah, I just put out this book called How to Dodge a Cannonball. It's a satire, which is what you call comedy when you're a nerd. And I think it's a great time. I think if you find anything I say entertaining here today, check it out. And so far, I have kind of been luckier than I have any right to expect. The reviews have been nice. The response from people has been nice. So right now, where I am with it is, I'm just trying not to say or do anything stupid in the classical Hollywood sense, and I am sure that I will leapfrog into that within 2 weeks. But it's gonna be a contained fire. It'll be like there'll be good headlines. But yeah, the launch has been great. How to Dodge a Cannonball, and now I am I'm in the middle of that ritual where the writer emerges from his cave, and we see if there are going to be like 2 more weeks of winter or not. And I think it's going pretty well. I am still out in the world, so I guess it's going to be a good harvest on that front. And that's the book so far.
All right. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I have not been able to make it my way through the book, but I am loving it. I let's just say I just found out the truth about Petey. That's where I'm at in the book. Just so, if you know, right? I did, however, make my way through Everything Abridged, which was your first book release. And I'm sure that, and there's even a couple of people, I think, that are watching now that have, ordered both of these books and are also enjoying them. Everything Abridged, if you don't know, is kind of like, it's like an encyclopedia, I guess would be like the thing. And the definitions are, they're Denard's definitions of these words and subjects. And somewhere mixed in there are short stories of varying length to define some of these words and phrases. I haven't read every book, but I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it. It was truly it's a brilliant piece. And I suggest everybody give that a look. Liz is only a third of the way through because it is everything. Like he's when he says everything abridged, not, he's talking about everything that ever existed, but the abridged version. So what was the inspiration for that, can I ask?
Absolutely. So when it comes to everything, I don't know, I've always enjoyed a lot of that sort of format bending, breaking kind of stuff. So I'm trying to put together a collection, and I kind of want to do it in a way that I would find engaging, because that's a general good creative rule. Like, would I enjoy this if I was the person who just paid the extremely sane amount that they charge for hardcover books at this point? And there was some influence from the Devil's Dictionary, obviously, which was, this comedic dictionary with all these old definitions, and I kind of did my take on that on various words. I think I did everything from like abolition to zygote, and I have a lot of fun with that kind of thing, because the sort of one-liner quick joke comes to me very naturally. It's kind of a borderline curse or possession. So I found myself filling these out super quickly. I got to be very picky about which ones I ended up keeping too, which was nice, because I don't know, you want to avoid that first draft feel.
Yeah.
And I had...
Go ahead.
And and it let me sort of cover the gamut topic-wise. I had this one story in there. The original title was Ringside Easel. I might have changed it, but it was about wrestling and somebody who painted portraits of these wrestlers after they did this whole art school washout thing. And washing out of art school has nothing to do with my personal story or anything. But but yeah, I'm a long time punching fan. I sort of fell into it through Lucha Underground, which makes this an interesting episode with the whole AR Fox Ricochet thing going on throughout it. And yeah, it's been on a decent upswing this year, which has been very nice to see. At least if you're into the AEW stuff. Obviously, there's X, Y, and Z weirdness going on the Fed side, but I've been enjoying things here. I've kind of I don't know. I guess I felt like everything sort of reignited around that Omega Ospreay match. Though that probably also betrays what genre of wrestling nerd I am in terms of me not
right.
Yes, 40 minutes.
I actually do want to ask about that. So when you say Ospreay and Omega, are you talking about the Wrestle Kingdom match? Or the rematch?
I'm referring to the rematch.
Ah, okay. So you're a big fan of screwdrivers.
I'm a big fan of screwdrivers. I'm a big fan of someone driving their insurance premium up forever. I'm a big fan of the fact that I guess Will just has springs for legs, and that is always impressive. It's kind of funny. I was not good at it in a way where it's notable, but I did some breakdancing stuff, so I could turn over. So seeing him, I'm always thinking even more like, how are you possible as a human being?
Right. Yeah. Will Ospreay.
I just want to say quickly, by the way, Denard, I apologize on behalf of Australia for I don't know if you saw what happened at the Olympics with Ray Gunn, the Australian.
I did see Ray Gunn. If it makes you feel any better, every contest I've ever seen has always had a Ray Gun.
Oh, really?
You didn't fail in an unprecedented way when that happened.
Dude, I was so embarrassed, put it that way. Extremely. Still am. Understandable. I remember the fallout on that was wild. I'm kind of blessed or cursed with one of those personalities that kind of likes when something weird and interesting happens. So I was just sort of fascinated that she is a real person and thought this would work out. What is that process like for Reagan? If you found out how she actually got in, she shouldn't have even been in the Olympics. That's what's even funnier.
Yeah, some muddy stuff with the qualifiers, right? Which is also breakdancing tradition.
Well, her husband actually was part of the voting committee to get her in. And that's really how she got in.
I think it is really love when you know your wife dances like Ray Gunn. And you say, yes, dear, you can go to the Olympics.
Which is why we have committees, and the committee failed. to do what the committee was designed to do.
Yeah, they were kind of asleep at the wheel there, or I don't know, maybe they believe in love.
Wow.
Well, somebody
Whatever
has
it
to.
was. Yeah.
So
Right.
let me take it back here. So Lucha Underground.
Mhm.
Is that the where does your relationship with wrestling start? Is it Lucha Underground? Is it that late?
Is it that late? I fiddled around with a lot of the WWE stuff before that, and one of my closest friends was a huge NJPW head, and I sort of got like drizzles of it through that because then they were sitting on the couch and you're like, oh, who's the perfect bottle-grown human here? And like, oh yeah, that's Ibushi or whatever. But like, I guess Lucha Underground is where I sort of fell all the way into it,
Okay.
and yeah. So
I
I was definitely kind of a late recruit.
Is that like, okay, so were you on board with Lucha Underground from season 1, or did you catch up and binge some like after it had already, ran its course, so to say?
That's a good question. I was binging it after it had sort of started collapsing it on its own weight. It turns out that it's a really good idea to pay people for goods and services rendered. It really smooths things along.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in general, yes.
Also, considering how intense what they asked people for on that show was, of all the, I don't know, hardcore stuff or flip over 3 human beings, it kind of, unfortunately, that money thing adds kind of a nasty aftertaste to some of that. Like, it's weird to look at that whole Hell of War thing that Swerve was kill shot back then, and AR Fox, they call him Dante Fox for whatever copyright reason. But they go through basically the craziest hardcore match I've ever seen, and then afterwards, you're reading like, oh, they probably were not paid much for that.
No. Well, yeah, what they were trying to do was, because it was a TV show, they were trying to lock these people down into multi-year contracts and then just not have any work for them to do. So they're trying to do that exclusive contract thing that, a WWE would try to do, where we own everything about you, but you also can't go work anywhere else, even though you're an independent contractor. And that's just not how that works.
Yeah, it's not how that works. It would be dark if it got to work that way. And it's, yeah, unfortunately, like that whole, I don't know, business access thing is a part of doing this in a sane way. But I at least enjoyed the on-screen portion of everything that was going on, and I'm glad to see so many of those people are still kicking around today.
Yes, and yeah, they're all. There's so many stars were made out of Lucha Underground, that I don't know. I don't want to say it's surprising, but I definitely didn't see. I didn't see the. I thought it would carry more of a stigma, I guess. One more thing about how to dodge a cannonball that I did want to ask before we get into, because of the subject matter, the Civil War, as you said, and the fact that I know that the best comedians know that there's truth in comedy. So I wanted to ask, like, what degree of research did you do, like historic research, as far as like, the time period and everything? Like how much was that important to you in your writing process? Because, it's definitely in your voice, but I also know that thing of like, it's funnier if it's accurate. Right. So, what was that? What was the research?
So, like you just said, like a lot of comedy just comes from that. Accuracy is one thing. I think it's also just the stakes, like a kind of that skin that you have in the game from sort of sticking your head all the way in it and how much you care about it by default. I think it really lends a lot to the thing. Like, even if you don't end up expounding at length, like you're doing your best Ken Burns impression, I think it just lends it makes it a lot easier to do things in a way that is, I kind of try to go for a relatively breezy, natural voice, and to do that in the setting, I kind of need to bury my head in this all like throughout this entire like 3-year writing process for this book. So, I did my research was mostly reading. I just go through books very quickly, so it's a little easier for me to run through things that way. You go through Grant's biography, you go through all the Battle Cry of Freedom kind of stuff, and all the B-side versions of that. I remember that when I was starting out, I was super into this. There's this like Yale professor, David Blight, who has this like great lecture series on Civil War that he just turned into this whole podcast format thing. And that was nice for my momentum. Because of the genre of nerd I kind of spent forever looking at all these old drawings and photos in the Library of Congress stuff, because I don't know, there's something about that, like those primary documents, they have a texture that makes them very easy to, I don't know, you stare at them, you find all this interesting stuff, you see what like a soft drink ad looked like at this point, and that adds a certain kind of texture to when you're writing about like the draft riots or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just kind of tried to passively immerse myself in stuff about this while I was writing it. Ironically, it makes it easier to tell it in a palatable, modern way when your head is just wrapped around it enough that you can bend the content. And then where I have my little breaks or part ways where I do a little stylistic sort of modern flair here and there, I can do it in a way that feels balanced instead of does he know what he's talking about?
Right. Yeah, Cold Blood.
And thank you, Cold Blood. I'm glad that I'm still sneaky with the comedy. I try to be.
Yes, I've once described reading a paragraph from Denard as like being caught in a Marvel Infinite. Like it only ends when he stops writing, or if he drops the combo. But I haven't seen him drop a combo yet, so. You just sit there and infinite, hit stun until it's over. And then you could take, even going back to everything abridged, it was like, you could read one, like you said, it's a one-liner, is structured as a one-liner. He'll pick a word, he'll say one thing about it, and then you'll have to like go outside and take a walk, like that.
Like, that's actually a good way of putting it.
Wow. Yeah. I have to re-examine everything based on this now, because it was so, I felt it so much that I didn't even laugh, and now I need to think about things. Like, that's a lot of that kind of level of humor.
I really appreciate hearing that. Honestly, the best thing about these kind of release periods is you get the most direct conversations, interactions with people about the work that you often do. Because, it's a very naturally siloed thing, a lot of writing. You can go through the comments, but it's not quite the same as you're out there signing books or whatever, or talking to people on shows, and you kind of really get to see how people interact with the work, and it's very affirming to see that it can reach someone like that.
Yeah, well,
thank you.
Hopefully it reaches as many people as possible. But so if you guys are interested, yeah, check it out. Check out How to Dodge a Cannonball. Check out everything abridged. If you're not sure, start with everything abridged, because it's more digestible in bites, even though you may have to take a walk after some bites, but but check that out. And everything else.
Yeah, very cardio friendly book.
Yes, definitely.
Cardio friendly.
Yeah. Everything else, if you want to talk about, 1-900 Hot Dog, which you're regularly on, columnist, podcast once in a while. If people don't know anything about that, if you want to just briefly bring them up to speed, because obviously if they're into video or podcasting stuff, they're here, so they might go there too. I love it. That's Absolutely. How I found out about you, but let the people know what it is.
Absolutely. So yeah, 1-900 Hot Dog is essentially one of the just best ways left to actually like laugh and enjoy the internet at this point, with all the
last comedy website.
Yeah, that's their tagline. That's a way more efficient way of putting it. Brockway and Sean Baby, they're these two veteran internet comedians who sort of found a way to. The joke I always make is that's like Constantinople for internet comedy. Like everything just sort of burned down over here, and they just kind of kept on trucking over here, and it's going well. But yeah, it's 5 just long form joke crammed articles about the craziest things that we can dig up. I am the Tuesday guy, and there is a marvelous freedom to writing there. There is everyone else there is so good, by the way. Like every now and again I read someone else's column and I just sort of like one of those Salieri scenes in Amadeus or something. I'm just there like, how did this happen? How do I how do I follow that act up? And they're all consistently like great and impressive. And we do touch on a lot of wrestling and wrestling adjacent things there. Primarily Sean Baby, it's all that stuff. I do some of that stuff too. I had a lot of fun writing about Sandman versus Sabu back in the day, which was, you know, obviously an event-filled match in all kinds of ways. And dearly departed Sabu. It was definitely odd having written that piece and then having that unfortunate bit of news come across.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk about a lot of WrestleMania. If they will not punish me for spoilers, I'm currently chipping away at a piece about the time that AJPW had Hellboy, or someone in a Hellboy costume, in for a match, and the extreme difficulty of doing anything in a giant Hellboy costume, especially a full wrestling match. It was a tag match, and that was still not enough downtime to comfortably wrestle in that thing. So that's a fun, relatively singular incident, and we talk about stuff like that.
All right, yeah, look forward to that.
And I also have my personal newsletter, Extra Evil, which has that name because my street art persona, whatever thing was called Seymour Evil, and still floats around in places. But yeah, that's a weekly newsletter where I just talk about the writing I've done that week, jokes about stuff in the week, etc. But that's enough self-promo nonsense.
All right, we've had it.
No,
all right,
please.
I believe
too, right?
What was that?
Sorry, man. You've also got Extra Evil as well, right?
Yeah, Extra Evil. Yeah, that's a newsletter. It's extra-evil.com.
Right.
And I think it is really funny. I cover a lot of ads are still insane. They're more insane in a lot of ways, but I talk about old ads that are insane in a very particular way a lot there.
Yeah,
like you see these old.
That's always a highlight of the Extra Evil, is looking at the old ads, and their sanity grades.
Yeah, right now we're doing old smoking ads, so the sanity is always somewhere in the F or F minus range. Last week, the gimmick of the campaign that I covered last week was it's 1942, and their basic angle is, hey, you're as stressed as humanly possible. Why not smoke more? And it's so naked with it. I was kind of impressed because I think a lot of modern advertising is basically, you know, when someone is lying to you really poorly and you're like, dude, I know what this conversation is. At least just come at me with it. That ad is too honest in many ways when it comes to that. But yeah, I saw a lot of fake ad things there and just things in my day, etc. And that's my newsletter, Extra Evil.
All right, Extra Evil, check that out. 100 Hot Dog, check that out. I believe it was I do believe it was the Sabu and Sandman thing. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask him about. Like, that inspired me originally. I was like, I'm gonna reach out and see if he wants to do something. So here we are. We finally made it.
I really appreciate you reaching out. And just out of paranoia, I'm just going to jostle my mouse here because even though I changed all the settings in the middle of a long video call recently, it just randomly cut out on the. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for reaching out. By the way, I think Instagram really seems to go a lot further as a chat client at this point than a content platform.
No kidding.
It's the way that at least 5 people in my life primarily reach out to me.
Well, it's got to be good for something, right? Other than asses.
Yeah.
Asses,
yeah. That mystifies me. By the way, like I see, someone who primarily. There is such a universe of ass material out there and every other format more produced. I wonder what it is about Instagram where someone's like, yeah, but it's like the ass is real to me. Like they're all real. They're all
right. Well, now they're not.
Not really.
Because now they're all AI. So there's that wrinkle to it now too. And that's just the metaverse at work. So, but we don't need to get too far into that. The point is, we're all here. We're here to talk about AEW. Jimmy, before we dive into the programming, is there anything of any significance whatsoever that happened at any point in the past 7 days?
Honestly, I mean, not really. Other than what I was saying to you guys off the air about CM Punk apologizing to Saudi Arabia and basically got on his knees in front of the world. That's about it. I mean, other than that, there is nothing of significance to talk about when it comes to the news in professional wrestling.
You know, I know the standard line when something happens like that is, they're rich, they'll feel fine anyway. I don't know. I think that moment might just take away a bit of your soul, like your spiritual energy. Like, I think from now on, it is 92% of CM Punk standing in front of you.
Yeah,
man, I actually cringed for him straight up. When he actually apologized, I'm like, wow, because I knew the minute he walked out, I knew 100% why the fans in Saudi Arabia were actually booing him. And I'm thinking it's because of what he tweeted years ago, obviously. And it was exactly that. Once he apologized, everyone was behind him after that, funny enough. But it was just weird for him to see.
It is a very bizarre thing to watch in motion, and backpedaling is part of life, or admitting you're wrong in various situations, but backpedaling generally is not something you like to apply to the small stands you take against various homicidal regimes.
Yeah,
that's normally where the Punk in someone's name comes from, and I don't know, maybe it can be like CM Jazz, CM Thrash Metal,
CM Thrash Metal.
Yeah.
CM Pop. It's a
CM Pop, yeah. CM Pop works. It's definitely manufactured. But, a lot of his stuff is. A lot of his stuff is and always has been, but the funniest thing to me is I remember cuz he turned him. Like he turned him back with the thugonomics thing, the punkonomics.
That was corny, dude.
It was corny, but they liked it. He got him back with that, and they were with him at the show. But one of the things that I remember that I think a lot of people forget is, when they first started running shows over there, and this was like when he was in full retirement phase, like that's one of the things that the crowd would chant. That, if there was ever any question, if there was like real fans in Saudi Arabia, like they were used to chant CM Punk at the height of, you better not say this motherfucker's name ever on our show or whatever. And those fans over there were doing it. And I was like, well, they know. So yeah. I found that funny. Just, I remembering like, oh yeah, they used to do that. So that's kind of awesome. So they all, they get it. They're with it.
That is one of those nice moments where you sort of see like the connected world in motion. Like it's nothing against like people on the ground there, like in any given country, whatever's going on. It's not really the people on the grounds, but it just has that the apology has that aftertaste of like, I know you need a new name, but
yeah, he's a little bit, yeah, just a little bit. All right, so I guess we should just start sifting. Jimmy, is it time to sift?
I think it's time to put the gloves on and start sifting. But then I also wanted to ask you before we get into obviously AEW as a whole. You wanted to touch on obviously the Arena Mexico shows from the week before. If you have anything to talk about with that, please share it with us. Don't be shy.
Anything to share with it? Just first off, I found the entire event immensely entertaining. I mean, obviously, there's the novelty of the new setting, the different kind of crowd reactions, but there's something. I don't know. So when these collaborations lack a bit of the usual kind of cynical edge, they can take on a nice life of their own. I enjoyed that a lot. I was And there's just something like seeing, in a similar way that it's cool hearing people in Saudi Arabia chant the CM Punk thing. It was just seeing things like Adam Cole having like this crazy reaction from people in Arena Mexico is cool. And there's something about like, CML is sort of super into things like these big 14-man tags, and seeing that with this half AEW cast, and I guess I just want to say I really appreciated that entire experience. There's something with all the various unpleasant things that I'll need to touch upon. There's something affirming about that Hangman intro that was like, oh, we can still act like human beings to each other. That's cool. I'm fond of that, and I guess tapping that kind of energy is part of the guy's appeal in the first place. I remember in this episode that we were talking about, one of the better lines in the Mox promo was kind of playing with that, where he's like, yeah, I don't care about your like contemporary soft boy thing. I'm going to break your arm, and like that was, and I was thinking, oh, that's how those two personalities would interact. I kind of like that as a touch.
That's actually a great point, because that's true.
Well, yes, that is true. We're not Hangman fans around here, so you may not like it.
But in saying that, like at one point, I was a fan of his. It's just over the years, he's just become this weird sort of character, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, how you a cowboy and you wear butterfly pants with a perm? Like, it just comes across, you know what I mean? I'm not alluding to anything, but to me, that's not really cowboy shit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, as far as the perm goes, the 80s happened, and we all just need to accept that it's occupies space in our cultural landscape. The perm is eternal. But that's interesting, and I guess when it comes to his character, there was kind of the stalling phase. I mean, I think that there was kind of a difficult storytelling phase in general, the promotion for about a year, where there's sort of this start-stop thing in terms of people's stories.
Yeah.
When it comes to Hangman's character, I'm sort of okay with those things that are perhaps less incongruous with being, cowboy shit, because I guess to me, like, it's supposed to be about that tension, and like his good stories, and I guess the bad ones too, which is kind of funny. I guess that's consistency, but the good stories with him are essentially about, like, you have this warrior impulse, you have this sort of very modern damaged hipster thing or whatever that's living in the same body. They're both reacting to the same actions, and when it works, it kind of is about, okay, you still got to go in there and knuckle up anyway, which is what was so fun about, I guess, the original, not original because there's much stuff before and after that, but that like stuff going into his reign and right after with Kenny and Bryan Danielson, which is essentially about, Kenny Lockett in this kind of circumstance. And I know I am way overanalyzing it, but that's what's fun about having me on here, right? Like, I'm kind of a weird, I'm kind of a weird voice.
This is exactly the impetus. I said, look, this sucks. We're basically just coming on here, and I'm making fun of it the whole time. And I was like, I need to know who likes this and why. And then I thought of the smartest person I knew. So that's basically what it is. I need you to defend this. Not really. I'm just kidding. But
okay, cool.
But in that sense, that general sense. Yeah, in a sense. Now, you don't have to defend everything. You can pile on where you see fit. And you may not like some of the things I do like, but basically to get you up to speed, what we have here, what I have created here, enjoying wrestling, it must be a la carte. I can no longer subscribe to the fact that wrestling is going to be a good show. And I'm starting to retroactively wonder if it was ever good or if we were just stupid kids that didn't know any better. And it's always sucked. And I don't know where we're at anymore. So what I do is I have this a la carte method. It can be anything. It can be one promo. It can be one person. It can be one match. It can be whatever. Whatever you like on the show, you just have to take that in a vacuum, isolated, and enjoy that. And the collective whole, the long threads, all this booking and everything like that, it just, eventually it's going to disappoint you. So I can only enjoy each thing a la carte. So that is my philosophy that I have had to adopt in not just AEW, but across the board in the entire thing, because I'm a disenfranchised former wrestler, who quit, because I wasn't going to spend the rest of my career explaining to people why they're wrong. And I just said, no, I don't fit here. You guys do your thing. But I still have that same like passion that's like a blood disease that can't be cured. It can only be treated, where I just love this stuff still. And I just wish other people loved it correctly. So that's how I've had to cope with it. That's how we've done it here, the a la carte method. I invite everybody to try the a la carte method. I think it's wonderful. It makes the surrounding thing. Sometimes it's just like, the analogy I use is like, sometimes you have to eat your steak and lobster in a bathroom stall. It just has to be that way sometimes. Still good steak and lobster.
Disgusting, Vet.
Well,
come on, man.
But sometimes that's how it feels.
In a bathroom stall. That is the Disney World experience. I think that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot of entropy to the quality level on a given company's given show. I think that sometimes I just kind of wonder about the length of the program. I think there is kind of a side effect thing with that. I wonder if like you have these people who are the main creative drivers or whatever. I just kind of wonder, is there 3 hours of good television in a human brain every week? Like, I think I'm a smart guy. I don't know. Do I have 3 hours? I think somewhere around an hour 25 is I'm going to start puttering out of it.
Well, but that's the sweet spot, right? When you think about it.
Yeah, it's a sweet spot. Yeah, about that.
There is a lot to I guess the AEW stuff broadly that I do enjoy. So I guess I'll try to be, I don't know, a decent defender. But something I really appreciate about this appearance so far is the one-liners in the corner are pretty consistently great. I think I saw Jimmy Wang Yang was a better cowboy character a second ago. I didn't want to interrupt you to call that up, but I was...
Oh, no, please do. If you see something you like, go ahead and call it out.
I have appreciated the audience insert so far.
Wrestling needs Jimmy Wang Yang more than he needs it at this point. But we gotta give it up to Jerome. Thank you very much, Jerome. Appreciate you. Good man.
Thank you, man.
All right. So with that in mind, let us start with Dynamite. And Denard, please, if you need any clarification on anything that's been like ongoing that perhaps you haven't been up to speed on, or any sort of insider pro wrestling questions like why does this happen or this or whatever, or I didn't understand this or whatever, please, by all means, you feel free to ask any questions that you want as well. But
absolutely, I am relatively used to the reason a lot of things happening being we thought it was a good idea, and that is that is a pretty persistent thread throughout the years.
Yes. Well, there's some of these things that I don't know how anybody could have thought that, but we're starting with Toni Storm arriving and Mercedes beating her up and Luther up, just quietly beating Luther up also. And then the referees come in and Christopher Daniels come in, and they're very ineffective at breaking this up. But it is effective. Hit Mina Shirakawa's music. Everybody runs. No, we can't. No, don't. And then Mercedes gets one last dig in with "Let the games begin, bitch," which is the callback to, which I said was my favorite moment of the entire week in Arena Mexico when Mercedes got Germaned by Toni Storm and all of her belts flew in the air like Sonic's rings when he gets hit by a spike.
That was very entertaining. Yeah.
Yes.
Sonic's rings, that is kind of a perfect metaphor.
Yeah. So let the games begin. That is That's how we start the show. So what we're seeing the effectiveness of different things. Several men and Christopher Daniels, a retired wrestler, can't do anything. Mina's music hits. That's it. Gotta go.
The referee break has kind of, I mean, ever since I've started watching, I've just kind of wondered about the muscular dystrophy that strikes the security staff during an episode of anything. Like, they can't keep these people apart. And you kind of, I mean, you on one hand, you kind of get it, like, you know, these people are supposed to be, you know, larger than life. We can't contain the energy of their combat passion, but it definitely can. I don't know. It can. I totally see how that can like lean on the side of someone's like suspension of disbelief. For what it's worth, I did enjoy the, you know, before the security got in, the beating in and of itself. I thought they did a fine job with that. Mercedes is clearly having fun doing the whole, I don't know, supervillain kind of gamut. But yes, it is. You would expect maybe a little more get out of my face from the Christopher Daniels presence there. It's like, this guy has jumped off of more cages than I have seen.
Yes, moonsaulted even.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmy, you're still look. This has been all. This is just in service of the big showdown at All In. Like, we want to see the match. However, they're getting to it again. A la carte is how I'm taking that match. Is like, I just want to see that match. Everything they do is just like whatever. It's not going to make one difference to me one way or the other. You just put it on the poster, and I'm in. But what I mean, is any of this changing your feeling on it whatsoever?
No, it's funny you bring that up because you hit the nail on the head. Is it weird? And I was going to say that. Is it weird that I'm actually looking forward to that match the most out of any other match on that card? Because I really am. I'm actually intrigued by this match because these two are actually telling a story that actually makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Compared to everybody else, in my opinion. Because the thing about AEW, and it's funny, like you're saying off the air, Donald, for example, how you felt the shows were kind of chaotic. Because it is. You know what I mean? The way Tony books these shows is just weird. And it's funny because you also brought up earlier how you're reading too deep into things, right? When you say things, right? About where they're going with these storylines. But so do we. Like, we think like that too. And then we say to ourselves, like, actually, we're probably reading way too deep into it because it's not going to happen. It will not happen. Every time you think they're going that way, it just doesn't happen. So we've learned to like accept it, unfortunately, because they have a problem with being able to actually finish stories properly. Other than the Mercedes Moné stuff, and obviously with Toni Storm, that is the only thing for me right now that feels like it's meaningful to me.
With the Tony stuff, there has been, I think the huge advantage that you really sort of isolated there is that there's kind of been a persistent, like, trackable logic to. Well, actually, she does all these absurd things, but you sort of track it like, oh, okay, so she feels her career is sucking right now. She snaps in this way, this sort of nostalgia act thing. Oh, find some relief through this friend. Oh, that doesn't work out. They've J-Man gone. That's whatever. Simple stuff. It's like, but it's like, you know, A to B to C to D. I remember there was always. Are you guys into South Park at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I was.
So there's this old semi-viral video that's Matt Stone and Trey Parker, like the showrunners for that. They got invited to this one lecture once, and they talk about how when they are doing their, I don't know, fancy beat board, or is that the term? But when they're laying on an episode, they always think about like therefore and but. And their rule is that you're in a good place with a story when the thing between nodes in it are like therefore and but, like they do this, therefore they do this, or they try to do this, but this happens.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that's intact with this, but you're kind of fucked when you say and then. And I think the problem with a lot of wrestling that I have played around with since, like, I remember the sort of nadir of this was, I think, like it was Raw around 2017 or 2018 had the world's worst and then problem because what happened before or after things did not really correlate to anything except, someone from saying, and then Braun Strowman's got a violin. And you're like, what?
Exactly.
So
that was a bad.
So the therefore but stuff. Oh, sorry. What?
No, I was going to say I totally agree because that time was pretty bad for WWE also.
Mm-hmm. And I think with the Tony stuff, the therefore buts are very strong.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, like for example, Tony uses a lot of Australian humor. Me being from Australia, of course, I find it funny, but at the same time, I think, does the broader American, audience understand a lot of, the slang terms, the Australian slang terms? But the way she uses it is actually kind of funny, you know what I mean? Because even Mercedes Moné herself is starting to use it. Like, for example, do you guys call, like, slides, right? Like slippers?
Oh, yeah, we normally say slippers, but I guess it's just that diffusion end. She evokes things very well, so you kind of fill in the blank as she goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Literally. But the thing, but again, like this is the only thing that really has structure, though, I feel. And like I said, man, I actually think this possibly, maybe I'm wrong, because you can never predict AEW properly. But could this possibly be the main event at All In? Do you guys think?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
I would. I would enjoy that. I'm trying to think how many times they like moved away from like world heavyweight men's thing being the main thing. They did that with one of the Owen Hart things. They did shift that around. They haven't done it for a women's match so far. I thought that there was a chance that they were going to do that with the payoff to the Storm Mariah May thing because that was sort of what was going on. What people talking about a lot of energy was. They didn't do that. If they wanted to, I don't know, make up points for that with this would be, I guess, the time to, though. They always seem to be sort of a step behind in letting the women's thing have whatever space it would need.
Yeah, it's weird
to unfold.
Right, because right now I actually feel that it's sort of getting the most attention right now. I feel like it's the hottest thing. But next week, though, it could totally change. They could go back to like the Hangman storyline. You know what I mean? So, but right now, I kind of feel like that's the biggest thing going on the shows. That's what I took away this week, especially Vet.
If that's the case, it's only because people are so disenfranchised with Jon Moxley that they don't even want to see him. That they don't even want to see him anywhere near a main event. So if they end up putting, like, if they end up putting this match on last, with Tony and Mercedes, then you can bet that Moxley's just going to be keeping that belt. If it does go on last, if
are you saying we should have let him see Romper Stomper?
We've been saying that for months, since the moment he showed back up. We've been saying that, but
it's so true though.
All right, well, we can't spend all day on it because the Young Bucks come on the screen before this issue is completely resolved, and they tell Swerve and Ospreay, "Hey, your match was supposed to be on later, but it's on now, so get your ass in the ring." So that Will Ospreay's music hits and he's running out, still getting dressed, which is a lesson for all you wrestlers. Always get in your gear the moment you get to the building. Damn it, you always have to be ready because these things can happen. It probably happened to the Young Bucks before. That's probably why they're ready.
You think with the regularity, you just sort of get jumped in the hallway that you'd be ready.
Yeah, right. I mean, how many times have these guys been in their full gear and been jumped? Which, so they run out there. I mean, Swerve looked like he was ready. I mean, ready enough. He didn't take too much time. So they run out there.
Soft law following around that all comedy is gently offloaded onto Nana. He is always glaring ahead.
Yes,
you gotta love Nana though, man. Like
it's not a.
Oh no, I
It's
know
not a
that.
bad thing.
I
It's
know
just
that. Yeah.
it's like a man. It's almost like a man's eye act. Like
Yeah. That's funny.
Uh,
No, definitely.
well, here's a Manzai act for you. Blake Christian and Shotty Lee Johnson. Now that's a comedy duo if ever I've seen them. So the Bucks walk out to watch this in person. Swerve eventually hits the house call on him. Security gets between Swerve and the Bucks. Swerve books himself in a match at All In because that's just what we do. Tony had no ideas for any of these people until Swerve got on the microphone, and then
What is that though? When you think about it, 2 weeks out from All In, and now,
right. Well, weren't we just talking about that last week, right?
Right,
Where,
exactly.
I know I'm supposed to be the defense lawyer. I will be a slight dick about this one point with them,
Please.
which is I was sort of under the impression the entire benefit of the EVP thing as a plot point is that you do not need to do that because they are part of the show.
Yes.
And like this is literally the only segment on the show where you do not have to fall into that trap.
mm-hmm.
And it's like, I know. That's a good trap though. Like that's a mouse trap I can really put my hand in.
It's right. And
that's it.
and to even further that point, the Ospreay grabs the mic and he's just like, put your EVP titles on the line. Like these are championship belts that they have and not jobs. And like that they would ever in a million years agree to it.
That would be a fascinating way for a company to work. Like, we are having the senior copywriter battle royale this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You are not digging your role. CEO, would that always have to be like a death match? You can't just have. You can't do
Match is good.
like either a death match or maybe the NWA thing, like it's a 2 out of 3 falls. So you can't have like a normal match for CEO, right? I don't know. What's the stip? Is that always a Hell in the Cell kind of situation?
I think it's a 24/7 title situation.
Oh, okay.
Like
okay.
every day your job is not safe.
Well, that's actually a good point. Putting it like that.
I like that. I think it might lead to even better behavior from a lot of CEOs if they had that little head on the swivel aspect.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other thing. I had a minor positive costuming note is that somewhere out there Matt Jackson found the perfect like douchebag shirt, and I think that was a nice choice for this sort of succession thing they're going for there. I appreciated that. In terms of the match itself, they're rolling over Lee and Christian, and I still don't know how Will Ospreay does like the standing double full twist thing into a press, but it's always cool to see. And yeah, I consistently enjoy that.
You're referring to when he leaped over security to leap on the Young Bucks, right? Like
that is a different thing. I mean that in ring move where he's just standing there and he will go in and rotate twice and like land in like the sort of frog splash position. I don't even know the technical name for that.
No, there is none. There is none. We don't have that. It's not in the textbooks. No, he just made it up.
He just made it up. So I'm always impressed by that bit. And yeah, they did the whole showcase thing in this match. Sort of one of those awkward things where, again, weekly television. This is a plot point you have to sustain until you get to the actual event.
Yes.
Right, but actually, I just want to quickly ask Denard, how do you feel about that style of wrestling in general? Like, I'm assuming you would be more of a story guy, like in terms of wrestling, or do you prefer a good sort of athletic match over a story per se?
I don't really think of it as a versus thing. I kind of enjoy both things for what they are. I'm always sort of I followed all the NJPW stuff for a long time, right? And I remember there was this one. Yeah, it's a.
Unfortunately,
and I remember there was one Suzuki. It is very unfortunate how dead in the. It is like, I feel like I am watching like late Metallica when it comes to that. But
oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
And I remember there's this great Suzuki quote during the preview. It was like, look, you don't want 12 of the same guy doing the same stuff. Even though we have like the signature strong style thing, it's almost you almost want to think of the carnival thing, like this guy's your lion tamer, this guy's your acrobat, and I think that you see that. In fact, you get one benefit of that, like John's seen better days, but at his peak, like some of the Omega rivalry stuff, some of it was just so cool about right. And one thing that was cool is they were so yeah, I mean, and they're so good at different things, and it's just weird seeing how coalesces, and that was something cool about it. So that's part of why I tend to not think of it as like story matches versus ninja shit matches. Right. And exactly. It's also probably why, it's kind of funny to talk about Will Ospreay with that, because he is someone who has like started out completely in extreme of one thing, and he's learned a lot about doing the other thing. And I think he can do a good long story match now. And
it's more of a recent thing with him when you think about it.
Yeah, that's like kind of a creative development thing. It's a big thing that, like after Kenny left over in NJPW, I think a big thing was Ospreay learned sort of how to try to step into those shoes and like do these stories where, a backflip isn't just a backflip. It is actually putting the stuff in the beat of the thing. Or telling the story and just doing like a backflip randomly halfway through it. But still, he does the story match too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
And and in terms of so that's my thought on that topic. I'm just gonna jostle you. I'm super good. Paranoid. But
all right. Jostle away. So we have gotten a package to catch us up on the Ibushi and Kenny, their history, or whatever. We got a nice little package there. And then Okada is backstage and he's introducing the Bucks to people that they've known for years, saying, "Here's my friends." and Trent is going to have a match with this Ibushi fella. And Trent tells them, "Watch what I do. I think you're going to like it." So we move on to Trent versus Ibushi in his first match in a long time. My notes for this is, for a man that's broken every part of his body in the last 18 months, he's moving well. His psychology's still bad, but he's moving well. I did watch Trent. He wrestled him. I don't know what he was expecting us to watch. He even, like, this is the classic thing I've been talking about, where these, in the old days of wrestling, they do this thing where it's like, I'm going to put a bounty on this guy. Like, okay. And then they even do that now. Like, they'll have somebody be like, "I got so-and-so in a match tonight. Don't worry, I'll take care of him." And then they just have a normal wrestling match and don't try to take care of him. They never do the thing of like, well, he blatantly just kicked him in the balls to start the match and then went and got implements to try to disfigure him for the rest of his life. They just, here Trent was like, basically saying, "Watch what I do to this guy." So like, watch that schoolboy you did when he turned his back for a second. Like, that'll teach you. I'll hold you down for 3 seconds, buddy. And he didn't hold him down. He actually got Kamigoye. So there you go. And then Okada walks out.
That is kind of a persistent bit of story weirdness. It's like, I need this guy taken care of. I need you to give him a bad day at work. He's gonna have like a red mark on his scorecard. Yeah,
that's right. He's gonna get the loser's share of the purse. It's still a hefty sum, but it's definitely less than he would have.
It's like all of your playoff momentum done.
Yeah. And then, speaking of done, Okada walks out to do nothing. Just look at him. And then because they already traded blows last time, so we don't have to worry about doing that. Now we've gone from "I hate you so much I have to punch you" to "let's just stare because those punches hurt and we don't need that." So yeah, but it's official for next week. That match has been announced. That is one of the matches where last time Ibushi was in the ring with him, he broke both his legs doing something or something like that. So one can only hope that it doesn't happen again, or does, depending on your feelings. But
what's sad about Ibushi though, as well, guys? Sorry, Denard. I just wanted to quickly point out. Last week, I was saying to you, Vet, how I thought he looked kind of normal, back to normal. I take that all back because this week he just looked not him for whatever reason. I can't put my finger on it, man. He's something off. He just.
I know what you're saying. He used to be one of the sort of basic. I mean, when it comes to Ibushi, the thing is like he was one of the sort of snappiest movers in the world. Like he was like he's like somebody who would like, if you heard he was like, he was a stunt. He, like we talked about just now, like his psychology was kind of questionable. And the reason he got away with that is that he's like a cyborg. And,
right, yeah.
And right now, like, I mean, it's not like, you know, a move pattern that you would like cry if you woke up with, but it's not something that like is kind of that world class like event come see the mechanical man thing that he was, which it's a question like, is it just need time, like maybe just coming back into this after this whole crazy injury thing? I don't know what was going on there.
There was a lot of weird stuff going on with him, actually, where he was accusing, like saying publicly that Yakuza were after him. They were trying to kill him and his mother. It was just a lot of bizarre shit going on. And then he comes back and he looks kind of different. Like he looked weird. Like something mentally has gone wrong with him. And I can't really put my finger on it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's unfortunate. If it's a mental health thing, I hope that you know, whatever help or time off or whatever. I do know that what you're talking about, like with the Yakuza stuff,
Right.
like the Yakuza claim and stuff. It's like it's basically to the point where either there like is X or Y mental health issue, or it has been a crazy time that would cause one.
Well, yeah, something's happened. That's the thing, and I feel bad for him. It's almost like it's two different people, man. And I actually feel bad for him because he's a shell of his former self, which is sad because he was one of my favorites to watch wrestle every time I saw him wrestle back in the day, especially in New Japan.
I'll always remember when they were doing that sort of four-way thing with, well, not literally four-way because it was broken up into matches, but like they're doing the whole thing where, you know, someone's get the unified thing, and with Jay and Ibushi and Okada, and I will always remember the match with Okada and Ibushi, which is part of why I guess it is one of the 300 like reunion matches or whatever.
Absolutely.
But I still remember how invested I was in that Okada Ibushi match, and
Me too, man.
Yeah, I also, because my sense of humor is what it is. Like when Okada came out ahead of that, I was joking for like a month. Him just going, "Hey, I heard someone's dream was in here. I can't have any of that. I need to break all of that glass."
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
That's the best. I will say this just as a quick side note. If you want to see the match that you never knew you needed to see or maybe forgot about between Okada and Ibushi, watch the one where Okada wrestled Tiger Mask W.
Okay.
If you've never seen that, if you want to see Ibushi at his most Ibushi, it just so happened to be when he was playing Tiger Mask for the anime promotion. So go watch that. Go seek that out somehow. World probably has it somewhere, but I don't remember. I don't even remember when it was. All right. So,
man to save him.
Yeah. Mox does a cinematic promo, you know, in the stairwell. He's got coverage. It's great. You know, he's making his short films and he's going to submit them all to Khan for consideration. But, well, what did you think, Denard, of this? I think you mentioned a line from this earlier about him not giving a shit about Hangman.
Oh yeah, he's like, so yeah, you've got a whole emotional turmoil thing going on. That's great. I'm gonna break your arm, and that's not literally the line, but that's the gist of it. I appreciated that. The joke I always used to have about Mox's strengths and weaknesses, like on this whole front, is that he is someone who has, like, in terms of energy and conviction and delivery, could read a phone book, and unfortunately, sometimes he reads a phone book.
Yep,
literally. It feels like absolutely.
But yeah, this was but yeah, again, like I say, this thing, I don't know, the intensity is there. and I do appreciate that. I guess it really just has the stuff of the booking of a lot of the other Death Riders thing that kind of like hanging over it as this cloud.
Right.
It's one of those weird things where I think I actually would just be straightforward, like sweet in isolation, and I just need to try to see what I can shake from the rest of it.
Right, absolutely.
I kind of
a la carte.
Yeah.
There you go. You see, I need to do the conveyor belt sushi thing with
yes, just this, please, as it goes by.
Yeah.
Like there has to be like a alt universe where I just came in, bang, the Danielson title switch happened, bang, the entire Swerve arc happened, bang into this last Hangman thing, and I would have been like, great, perfect heel tolerate. Don't see the problem. What
perfection.
Right. It's a lot more simple too. Instead, they overcomplicate shit when they don't need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Renee is going to ask AR Fox, "What's next for you, buddy?" And Ricochet comes up and says, "Hey, join my crew." And before AR Fox can really accept, Ricochet accepts on his behalf and says that they're going to tag later. So
that was brilliant.
This is great for all the One Piece fans to see Ricochet walk around in a Navy Admiral coat trying to recruit people for his crew. He is mixing it up a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Again, a la carte. I just say I like the reference, so I'll just accept that. I won't criticize the execution of the reference. Right?
In a perfect world, sorry, a little bit. Yeah, this is it is interesting. The sense of humor that comes through in the character that he sort of walked backwards into here is a lot of fun. The Admiral coat thing is I can rock with that. Maybe I've just read too much of that comic book. I do totally see what you mean in terms of like the vibe of the character is really more of sort of this contemporary ego. It's like the character that he portrays is someone who would like try to lean in more into seeming like he's got the cool like proto hip hop thing going.
Right,
like it feels more
exactly.
like the real person Ricochet wants the Admiral coat thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at least visually it's a nice touch, and there is like a gag with building the crew there.
Yeah. You say walk backwards. I say carefully crafted and calculated. Like I think he's planted the seeds for his heel turn long ago. And you know, I have a saying here that says, "How do you get over as a babyface in 2025?" Well, it started in 2024, but it's 2025 now, so I updated it. But how do you get over as a babyface in 2025, Jimmy?
To be a heel. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Cool heel
because everybody knows that wrestling is so blatantly fake and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. They'll just come right out and tell you now on their post-media press conferences, everything. Like, they'll just say it. So now people only care what's entertaining. They have no personal investment. They cheer louder for furniture than they do for wrestlers. They don't care at all. Yes.
So
they will
true.
chant for a table before they'll chant for a person.
And the songs too,
and
forgetting the songs.
Yeah. So if Ricochet wants to be a heel, how does he do that? So he has to make people believe that he's really an asshole. So he goes on Chris Van Vliet's podcast and says, you know, yeah, I'm actually better at everything than everybody, and people believe it. He'll tweet things that people are buying it, and they're saying, what an idiot, Ricochet, you know. And he does all this, and then he transitions that into his on-screen thing. And now he's got now in an era where literally 75% of every American pro wrestler is a bald guy with a beard. He's a bald guy with a beard that's got people chanting at him, making fun of him for being bald. Like,
that's brilliant.
That's how it's done.
I remember I was lucky enough in terms of the progression of this character kind of coming out that I got to be at that Hammerstein thing they were throwing.
Mm-hmm. The toilet paper?
Was essentially,
okay.
Yeah. Where the toilet paper came out, and you know, it was a point in the story, like just like he snaps, basically, right?
Right, yeah.
And he really does manage that. I mean, you know, the type of heel character, like that sort of impotent kind of thing, very well. Like, and I I think you have a great point that it is actually very like carefully constructed. I think that when it comes to the how you get over as a babyface thing, it kind of points to this persistent problem, and this is more of a general thing. Like I'm thinking of all the
it is a general thing. It's all across the board.
I think.
Right.
And they really seem to have. Okay, so my diagnosis, because I have my particular fixations, but I think that they have just forgotten in a lot of ways that colorful behavior by the babyface is allowed. Like that's part of why the Toni thing is so great, because the character is wild in a very specific way.
Right.
That isn't just reactive to whatever the heel did last.
But she was a heel.
That's true too.
And
they turned her.
And now I have to just follow my sword. Yeah. So I guess
you proved it. Ha ha. Yeah.
Okay, so we may just have a law of wrestling physics for the next quarter going on here.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of my theories. I definitely it's just because people don't know how to be a traditional babyface with values without coming across as corny or boring. So it's just turned into like, well, if I'm just, the heels always get to have all the fun. And so now they've become the baby faces because nobody believes in any of these people. But anyway, that's a whole different thing that deserves its own podcast. Ricochet and his potential crewmate, AR Fox versus Jet Speed. And almost predictably, Ricochet walks out on his partner. And Fox gets splashed by Kevin Knight. And Shivani's waiting on the ramp for Jet Speed. And they're like, hey, we challenged the Hurt Business. And the Hurt Business is like, oh, really? And after they treat them like they should be treated in that situation of trained killers versus a couple of guys playing wrestler, table for two, please. And then the MVP calls for the production to give them their belts. So two guys come out giving them their belts. Says, hey, production, hit our music. They hit their music. And then they go into the ring and they transition into the official announcement, which he takes a long way to say that Max is going to enter a qualifier for the Casino Gauntlet match. And then Mark Briscoe comes and he says, hey, I have a match up next, so y'all need to get out.
Yeah.
That there was that's pretty wide sweep of the content there. Interesting place where I think I branch off from you, yet I meet you right back in the middle there is I don't know, for what it is and their specific purpose, I enjoy the whole, I guess, Jet Speed tech wank thing, and I think that Ricochet is a great dance partner for them, though the whole gimmick was him staying out of it, etc.
Right.
But that being said, well, I do enjoy that more in terms of like, I know it's again that, you have your Beast Tamer, the Bearded Lady, etc. But that said, the entire beatdown with the Hurt Syndicate of those two was wonderful in a way. Like, I go through life thinking I'm a good person, I'm a decent person, and then I'm like, yes, this is what I came for. The abuse of the small men. And it was.
I mean, come on.
It was well done. This is not a new insight. This is not a fresh insight, but I have just enjoyed what Shelton and Lashley have carved out for themselves in this new context so much. It kind of is one of those context is king things, right? Like it's almost more interesting just because they are even doing it in this space where that energy is less common, that approach. And you got to balance the diet, I guess. They are right where they kind of make the most impact.
They are on my a la carte menu every week, but it's that's the thing. It's like they are in the Pope Mobile. Like they're like, okay, we'll all work for AEW, but none of this shit is getting on us. Right. And if you come into the bubble, then this is what happens. And Jet Speed got in the Pope bubble, and this is what happens. Like we're not gonna sell for this. We're just gonna treat you exactly like what this would happen if this was real. And that's the benefit of having guys like that, because no one's gonna question it. Like you can't question the booking if you can't question the men. So you know that Shelton and Bobby will kill you. MVP will kill you. So MJF might not kill you, but that's where him being as part of the crew, if you will, that's what the genius is, because everybody knows that and they hate that. I hate that MJF can't fight like these guys and he's using them. Like
the tension is right in the right place with that storyline.
Yes, this is how you do it. And that's what I mean. It's like they're in this Pope Mobile. They're not going to allow all the other creative, because also what is Tony Khan going to tell these guys something? You think he's going to get in Shelton's face? No. So he's going to accept all their suggestions are going to be accepted heartily.
That's a nice morality play on the limits of where money can take you. Like, can money let you tell Bobby Lashley what to do? Not really. There's not a net worth of that kind of an option.
But luckily, if you listen to Bobby Lashley, he might bring you more money. So everybody wins in the end with that. So now we're speaking of money. We're back to Mark Briscoe. He's telling him, "Hey, I have a match right now, so get your ass out the ring." And then they basically, MJF says Mark is a loser, and instead of getting fired up like a traditional babyface would, Mark goes the smart route and decides to display his intelligence, and he gives us the word of the day, which is empathy. He understands that Max has had a hard time growing up and that he may be compensating for something. So he's got a little kosher pickle and he's taking that out on everybody. Dude. So everybody starts chanting kosher pickle, of course.
People loved that.
Mm-hmm. That was good. I actually enjoyed that. The fact that he called him a kosher pickle. I mean, come on. That was brilliant.
Mark Briscoe also perpetually on my a la carte, just for the record.
When you look at sort of the characters that work in AEW, it seems to be the ones where they actually kind of have a grasp on what this person's drive reaction, but it's that's what it sort of works on the whole MJF thing, that insecurity thing that Briscoe gets at. When you have those simple tags, you can just have these moments this is how these two interact with each other, and they've gotten. I guess it's part. I mean, other than MJF is just a talented dude, but I think that the essential idea behind his character that he is someone that always goes back to his room after the show and punches a mirror is kind of a
100%.
It's kind of a nice hook to have to things. But yeah, this whole segment was great. Mark Briscoe has. I mean, I don't know. I always liked his. I shouldn't say exceeded expectations, but I'm just glad that he's.
I mean, it kind of did. I mean, to be fair, when you think about it, right?
Because I guess I don't know. I guess I always. I mean, rest in peace, Jay Briscoe. I always enjoyed their whole, at least where their tag arcs would peak, because they always obviously some of these stories wander on the way there, but I think that they always had these well-constructed blow-offs, and I just think that Mark in AEW, they have slowly really it's almost the appeal of one of those. I mean, obviously, this is a completely sector, way more violent, but it's almost the appeal of one of those classic Looney Tunes protagonists, where it's somebody who everyone underestimates or looks down by I guess just a traditional babyface I'm describing.
Yes, it's exactly what it is. What you're saying is exactly what it is.
Yes.
A traditional babyface. 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because the Briscoes were so they were baby faces a lot of the time. And it's just because people, again, they kind of were who they were. It wasn't much of an act. But the seeming wild, but tempered with the actual real life professionalism. They seemed too wild. They seemed like they were unpredictable. They seemed like they'd be a problem if you hired them. But really, they're just a couple of guys that showed up for work and did exactly what they were supposed to do all the time. Right. And that's why I would look at them and I'm I want those guys in my company. I want them doing everything. I want them doing, I want them pitching products on my, you know what I mean? When you see those WWE guys.
Yeah, the guy has the juice.
Yeah. I I want all that, and I still see that from Mark Briscoe. I see Mark Briscoe as like a little plushie with the googly eyes thing. Like, just like get this guy on merchandise, get him selling merchandise, get him selling other companies' merchandise. Do everything you can with Mark Briscoe. Oh, and also push him and give him belts. Like all that stuff. Like this is just a guy that you just want to have. It's sad that we can't have his brother too, but that's what I would have done if Jay was still around. I would have pushed them as a team, as singles, concurrently, whatever. Like these guys were always money and they always will be money. So I just wish that I just wish they didn't job Mark Briscoe out all the time. The good news is, like, as a wrestler, it's good that he's working as much as he is, because you need to keep your body in a certain level, a calloused up level, to, like, you know, if you don't work enough, it really hurts, you know, like you could see John Cena right now, and you can definitely see him
literally.
And
you're right.
yeah, but like the guys like Mark Briscoe, it actually, you'd think it would be more it would be worse to, you think it would be worse for Mark Briscoe to be working every single television taping like a full match, but it actually keeps you in ring shape. So he's getting that benefit and a lot of other people aren't. And not only is a match going to be harder to do when you have less reps and less cardio, but you're going to be more prone to making mistakes because you don't get better at something by not doing it. So the good news is Mark Briscoe's working a lot. The bad news is it's usually he's, you know, on his back looking up at the lights. And I think there's more money in him as a winner. And as we'll see here in this next match with versus Bandito versus Roderick Strong versus Takeshita, he's going to come out with a win with the Froggy Bow, as the Hurt, you know, Syndicate looks on, you know, cluck their tongues and stroke their beards and say, this Briscoe gentleman, he's made a fool of us. So I am happy that he did get a win here.
Caviar has lost its flavor tonight.
Yes. Yes. So Jimmy, I assume you were happy to see Mark Briscoe get a win as well.
Oh, absolutely. The only thing that concerns me is more the fact that, like, now he gets a win, for example. What are they going to do with him moving forward?
Another win.
Yeah, let's hope so. We'll see.
Let's hope.
But it's a real, let's see what happens sort of moment. But you know what? Sorry, go for it. Did not.
Oh no, nothing except they're saying I agree that he's a high value asset, especially because, like, I don't know, they're so into a lot of these, like, intense tournaments, and this is intense is this understatement, and the handful of, first off, human beings in the world that can do that and not implode, like, that's part of where people start to see, like, Shelton and Mark, for as much as the great things they bring to the table, is also they can just do those things of fucking dying, which good on them. I don't even know how, but yeah, you were saying.
Oh, I was going to say one thing quickly about Mark Briscoe. They should position him really, like you said, Vet, before. I love the plushy toy sort of reference, because he kind of does come across like that. But he could be such a big baby face for AEW in every way, like even selling merch and being on commercials even, and just, I know he looks like a guy that, you know, obviously is like bloodthirsty type of guy, right? Like just a perception. But really, he's a plushy toy, like Vet said.
Those are just both equally authentic aspects of a character. It gives him dimension.
Absolutely. Right.
You know he's a family man, but you also know that you better not, you know, make him go crazy and the redneck kung fu and all that. Like, it's just you have to.
It's intuitive. You get it when you see it.
Immediately, you get it. It's not even. It doesn't even take any time. That's exactly it. It's like, I heard about the Briscoes long before I ever really watched any Ring of Honor, because I just wasn't couldn't find the time to watch Ring of Honor. The first time I saw a Briscoe promo after hearing about him for years, first time I saw it, it's just like, oh, I get it. I instantly get it. There's nothing to get. It's just, yes, this is it. Give me more of this, please. So that's it. Now, on the other hand, we have Adam Cole, baby. He's going to challenge anybody in the Don Callis family to come after his title. Now that's a baby face. Come on, family,
Oh,
come
yeah.
and get it. Come and get my TNT title. So, Adam Cole thoughts, Denard.
Sometimes, you've had a friend for a while and they have a rough patch, and you just try to stick around for them while they figure things out. And that is my current Bebe experience, I guess. I mean, I understand. I guess I understand how it happens, because the sort of strength and weakness of the entire main event layer of the whole AEW experience, right, is essentially they have a very specific plan, and we are going to do that whatever happens. It's kind of a reaction to the sort of, I guess, chaotic top levels of the WWE. I totally get that. And when it works, it clicks, it hits, and then sometimes, because reality is real, someone randomly gets injured, and when that happens, you kind of gotta accept you can't do exactly what the plan was, or you'll end up in a weird stilted place. And he, unfortunately, the whole cloud over him is just the weird stilted place of sticking to the plan at all human costs when the hurricane hits or whatever. But anyway, that's a long way to say that story-wise, he's kind of in a odd place, and they veered out of one or two concepts or aesthetics or tones. So I think, given time to stabilize, he's a talent. He's a talented dude. I'm certain that it's a slump you can ninja out of, but it is sort of a tangible slump.
Well, yes. Well, I think that analysis is undisputed. I don't think anybody can dispute that. But what we do get next is Chris Statlander versus Athena, versus Willow Nightingale versus Thunder Rosa. And this is very exciting, I'm sure, except I had to skip past a little bit of it because I had a time constraint. Marina Shafir walks out to glare menacingly as she does. But that draws the attention of Willow Nightingale, and then Yuta sneaks in. Wheeler Yuta, that little bastard, sneaks in from behind and tries to get Willow, and he ends up getting pounced for his troubles. And then we get the Wednesday Night Fever on Willow. So Statlander, on her former friend, who she's trying to reconcile with, does pick up a win here. And that is where we're at. And also Athena appeared, which was the main draw.
Like you, I was very happy to see Athena. She is just this crazy, consistent, fun in and out of the in and out of the ring. I am zero complaints about having more of her. I'm not even sure how the physics on that Huracan Rana reversal thing she does work. You see the body wrap, I'm okay, I see it happening. It makes sense that it happened, but are you like a worm or? So that
she could be a werewolf or a vampire too, going on past gimmicks. You never know.
That is true. Are werewolves that flexible? I feel like werewolves are always and she.
Maybe it's the vampire part. I'm not sure.
There we go. There's some more shape shifting powers, but yeah. Very cool. Very cool seeing her in this match. Willow is always fun. It's always a kind of a sleeper hit thing, because I almost kind of forget until I see her in motion or doing her thing. I guess it's a strong execution of that sort of, there's that posy glitter women's babyface character that sort of is an eternal thing, but I think that maybe it just feels more intuitive the way she does it, but I can't really put my finger on it. I enjoy Willow.
All right. That's all you need to know. You just get it. Classic, very 80s, maybe 90s. But it brings the fun back. No one says that all these people getting bludgeoned or possibly suffocated with plastic bags can't be fun.
Yeah, just because there's a reign of terror with hey guys, is he right now, is he a Nazi, or are we talking about that?
Exactly. Exactly. Spot on. It's so true.
No,
man.
he can't be because look, Yuta's right there. Anyway,
So you're spot on though. You're spot on.
yeah, Jimmy, any thoughts on this? I love
match-
Athena.
Yeah. See, I hate the fact that Athena gets wasted in Ring of Honor for me. Like, I get it. They need someone like her over there, to keep it relevant, if it is even relevant, to be fair. But she needs to be over here on the main roster from now on, period, man. Because she truly is one of the best. That's the thing. She's also one of the best they've got in AEW. She's definitely top 3, in my opinion, when it comes to their women's division. You know what I mean? It's Mercedes, Toni, and then Athena for me. And then no one else comes close after that for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's exactly it. You just said it. Because this is a booking problem. It's wrestling wide. When you have too much of a good thing, you cannot justify having somebody on your roster and them not being in the main event mix. So it's like right now they want to go with Toni and they want to go with the Toni and Mercedes, right?
Right.
But they can't figure out a way to have a character like Athena on that show because she would definitely be trying to put herself in there. 100%. So because they don't know how to creatively write around that, they'll just take her off altogether and be like, you run Ring of Honor. And she's been carrying Ring of Honor for like 2 years with her Billy Stark storyline and all this other stuff. And most people aren't seeing it. And even I'm not seeing it anymore because I can't watch Ring of Honor anymore because I don't have time to watch Ring of Honor anymore. And even if I did, I'm not sure I would want to watch Ring of Honor anymore. But I would for Athena because I would just get to her parts and skip everything else. So yes, she does need to be on AEW for their sake and her sake. But it's already like a crowded field with limited TV time, and that's why it's not happening.
And one more thing I just want to quickly point out. This is another issue I have with Tony's, booking style. We went from a 4-way match, right? Just before this with the guys, obviously, right? And then what does he throw right after that? Another 4-way, but with the women. Yeah. Like, where's the logic in that?
Oh,
like,
it's a double beat thing, right?
Right. It's weird.
Yeah,
I see what you mean there structurally.
Yeah, structurally it's not right. You don't structure like that. A normal booker in professional wrestling doesn't structure that way.
That's why
I understand the mindset.
That's why the gimmick pay-per-views in WWE, they put one on at the beginning and one on at the end. They sandwich it to get the most distance in between of it. It's already bad enough that they have to do 2 because women have to have everything now. It's just fair. But rather than give them a different day to have it or their own event to have it or whatever. So we got to put on the same show. But if we're going to do that, we're going to put them as far apart so that it's not, and that's what it's very noticeable here. But in fairness, things do happen. And if he has to move something around on the fly on the day, that there could be a reason why it's like that. So I'm not going to beat him up too much for it. Those things do happen. But
neither here nor there. 2 minor notes on these 4-ways, by the way. These are just little things that jumped out at me. First off, just with the title and Billy Starks, I just noted that there was a perfect reaction image in there of just Billy looking flabbergasted at assorted events. And the other thing I wanted to note was there was just a sequence with, it was Takeshita and Bandito early on in the men's one, and those two.
That was weird, them two, dude. For me, but
I don't know. I really dug. Together, they have a lot of momentum. I mean, I guess that was a highlight of it, like their exchange for me, and also kind of Roderick's high energy streak in the middle. I think that. I mean, I'm a big Roderick Strong fan in general, but I guess I just wanted to note those before we jumped on.
Sure. Yeah. Roderick Strong, he's definitely he's definitely got that. He could blow a comeback, as we say in the business. So he's definitely good at that. What were you gonna say, Jimmy?
No, I was gonna say, back to the Takeshita and Bandito sort of interactions. I felt like they were sort of dancing too much. And when I say dancing, it seemed like a slow dance to me. Like, it didn't seem natural. It just felt, at first, it felt like going through the motions, that they knew their spots and just going with it. But it wasn't done, like, realistically. It just came across as slow to me, if that makes any sense. and that kind of took me away from that. But
Ah,
that's what I saw anyway. For me personally, obviously you guys got a different take, but that really stood out for me for some reason.
I mean, I think that's a like a fine thing to notice in this kind of sequence. Like, are you doing it in a way that feels natural? And sometimes,
right?
yeah. And I think that maybe, I don't. It's not necessarily that you're like wrong. I think maybe I just, from having my head into stuff, maybe my line of suspension is somewhere different, and that's
what I mean.
Yeah.
And you're not wrong either. That's the thing, because it's about opinions, right? No one's opinion is actually wrong technically.
But yeah, I think that though it does speak to something like there's an art or I guess a line with every one that sort of can do that intense tech or high flying kind of stuff, like how smooth into
because the
stories
chemistry
you have it. Because I think was that
because they got the chemistry, and that's when it comes across as more realistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that's almost what kind of makes like an Omega, because there are people with like amazing like moveset things like that guy, but he actually has a very kind of magic grasp of like getting it woven into the actual like movement of the match, or it matters that I'm trying to do my crazy 360 drill, whatever thing here, as opposed to there. So I see what I get it.
We all, I mean, we're all doing the same stuff, and who does it better depends largely on how much more believable it can be, I think, in terms of like how we perceive it. So, you know, you're going to get those guys that do the moves that Kenny does, but Kenny's going to do it his way, and that's just going to necessarily be better. It'd be like any artist that can just, you know, realize their vision in a way that you know, seems like it's authentic. You know who's authentic? Stokely Hathaway, Big Stoke.
I love Stoke.
Yeah, Renee is here with FTR and Big Stoke, and the long story short of this promo is that they want to have a meeting with the Outrunners on Collision. So will they? Won't they? We'll just have to tune into Collision to find out. And the main event here is Hang Person, Adam Page versus Jimmy. You can do the thing.
The Beast Mortos.
That's right.
Not to say very quickly, is it a coincidence that he's been in the main event 2 weeks in a row now? I'm just
I wonder what's the deal with that?
What's changed there?
No, he doesn't have any belts. He certainly doesn't have like 6 belts. So I don't know how he got in there. Yeah. So.
I mean, shit. I'm just pointing it out. Obviously, he's being pushed right up to the totem pole now.
Yeah. Well, the results are the same.
There are different styles of networking, and some styles and sometimes you network on Tinder. I guess that's a method. So
definitely.
That's brilliant.
But all the networking in the world doesn't change the result, because it's buckshot lariat for. He put the beast down with his buckshot with his shotgun clothesline, and then the lights go out, and then this. Now, come on. I'm not even asking you to defend this one because this isn't defensible. The lights go out, and when they come back on, Paige is on his knees already, like, no, please don't, because the Bucks have an arm each. They're getting ready for the beat to eat trigger.
I mean, well, you know, we've been working on teleportation for a while. The technology is moving along, and I think it's going to be really cool. I think it's going to be like the next big jump ahead for like the human experience.
So you're saying that they teleported his legs to the canvas from the knees down? Is that what you're saying? Because he was conscious enough to object to possibly getting kicked in the face, but he didn't look like he'd sustained any damage to get there. Is the way I took it. So the magic of the lights going out put him in a position to beg for his life, I guess, was.
It's like a visual stun gun or something. Yeah, I had questions there. Also, if I were to, okay, this is because I'm way too much of a maybe story doctor dork in this kind of way, but if I had to sort of stretch to the confrontation for 3 weeks and you have this plot point of them betraying him, you don't even really need to do the whole Death Riders thing on this episode. It could just be they beat him down, deal with their many emotions, whatever the hell.
Right, because it's like a sub story, you know what I mean? Like,
but maybe that's but that's again, I'm always kind of opening the frog up and going, okay, where would this fit better?
Well, of course. I mean, that's what a writer would do.
right.
These guys aren't writers. That's the problem. They write, but there's a difference between writing and being a writer. I think we can agree on that. And he like that's the thing. Like you said, I picture anytime somebody comes to Tony Khan with an idea, of like, hey, maybe we could do this, and then he just turns. He just turns into, like, Tony just turns into Apollo Creed from Rocky 3. Like, there is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. We have to do it now. Like, we can't assume that we'll still have a planet next week. We have to do everything now. You have to do all your moves in this match now. Now he's not telling him to do the moves, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, they could definitely pace this differently, but they didn't. So the Death Riders come down. They use the choke. They use the chain to choke Hangman. And then here come the Ops, and then here comes Ospreay, so they make the save, and Hangman's still alive for now, but it is it's probably an attempted murder.
I guess ever since they put the lawyer character exclusively in ROH, just no one has a lawyer anymore here to say that Jon Moxley tried to murder me, and there's evidence on television. But
we don't even. Yeah, you don't even need to. Well, he did show up that one time to make sure MJF's contract got signed correctly for the Hurt Syndicate. But other than that, yes, relegated to Ring of Honor. So that's a Dynamite. We kind of go off the air with the babyfaces saving the day, but we definitely know that Jon Moxley the threat of murder still hangs in the air at any given time. So.
It is a thing. It's soon Mortos would be the lawyer. If you've ever had a really bad lawyer, you can do worse than Mortos. Like someone that can like finesse their way into the Mercedes situation. That's okay in the courtroom at least. That's at least like at least they have the face-to-face interaction bit down.
I would imagine you had to argue your way into that. Yes. So yeah. All right. Well, that was Dynamite. Let's move on to Collision swiftly.
Roger.
You remember that we were supposed to have a meeting with the Outrunners. Well, here's Tony Schiavone to bring out the Outrunners. So just a little bit of fun trivia fact. When what's his name? Truth Magnum, I guess. That is we were like at OVW, we were ships passing in the night, kind of. Like, he was there at the tail end of my time, so I'm always going to have, like, a soft spot for him and the Outrunners, because they're all connected with all the people that I know. And then here comes FTR and Big Stoke. This goes for a while, as it usually does. FTR likes to pull time on the mic for some reason. They have a VHS-style video of like all the stuff they used to do together back when they were friends in the 80s, and they say, Axon is saying like, oh yes, that's great. The fans love you now. They're going to turn on you. And then the Outrunners are like, well, the only mistake we made was believing in you, and we could fight you right now. And Stokely's like, not in Washington. So maybe next week we'll be okay, because we get to do it in Ontario, California.
We have each location ranked by our willingness to fight there, actually. It's it's like that table of how much each artist charges for an appearance. Each city's combatability.
Yes. Dinar, where are you with the Outrunners as a gimmick and FTR's spot as allegedly the greatest tag team in the world?
Where am I? So I think FTR is a lot of fun. I've enjoyed like a lot of their a lot of their matches, the big NXT stuff, some of the stuff they did with the Bucks, as long as it wasn't just talking about, we've done great stuff together in the past. I think there is this weird staring at your feet thing where, just how much of the story is about, having had this legacy so far is sometimes kind of weird, but at the same time, they like are all about nostalgia, so I get that. I find the Outrunners as a gimmick it's one of those things where, when you're really into like metal or rap as a kid and your parents are like, okay, I get it. It's not quite for me. Mm-hmm. That's kind of me with the Outrunners gag. Like, okay, I see the joke. I see the structure. I don't think you're a moron. I just kind of hear that and I just kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. And
it's not for you, man. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And it's it's kind of a funny pairing with FTR, because to me, FTR kind of does like a smart, effective version of like the fixated on nostalgia thing, and then you put the Outrunners next to him, like, and I get why they're doing the story, because they are similar core bits, and it's like, so you were like you're the dumbass version of this bit, and but.
The Outrunners definitely lean into liking the cultural, thing of liking things ironically. So like if these guys are this ridiculous, and this is the closest some of these people, young as they are ever going to get to living in the 80s. So they're, not everybody remembers what it was like. So this is sort of that. And I like the way they do it in the sense where it never feels like, it always just feels like they're delusional. Whereas there's other extreme gimmicks in wrestling, like the Wyatt Six, for example, where I'm just like, so I'm supposed to believe that you're supernatural murderers like that. Yes. And WWE hired you with all the litigious natures of all these companies and stuff that's going on. So like in that sense, I don't get why you're a wrestler, but I could understand like, these two guys having like gone off the deep end. And
for the record, what I always respected about the Lucha Underground thing versus like a Wyatt Six kind of thing is with that core question of, when someone says, so are you saying you're fucking magic? Yeah. Whereas the Wyatt Six, they go, woo, could it be? And he's like, Lucha Underground, yes, I am magic. It is a problem. Your world is insane. What do you do now? How do you live like this?
But see, with Lucha Underground, though, at least they told you what they were. They didn't sugarcoat
exactly.
This is what we're doing and this is what we are. You either like it or don't. And that's why people actually like them a lot, because you could watch it for what they told you it was. They don't pretend to try to be real, if you know what I mean. It was straight up like a different aspect of how professional wrestling was like produced to everybody. Do you know what I mean? It was completely different. And that's why I think everyone got on board with it, because you could watch it for what it is. This is what we are.
Yeah.
If you like it, cool. If you don't, oh well, this is what it is. And you end up liking it, It was
much more strange that there was actual wrestling matches cut into the Grindhouse footage than anything that happened in the Grindhouse footage.
It's true, man.
Like the most bizarre part of it was just showing whole wrestling matches during it. That's basically what it was.
That is true. That's true. Like El Rey was a very particular network guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Robert Rodriguez is a very particular guy. Yeah. So
yeah, they get up some energy at the end of this exchange, and I do. There is that natural momentum when the crowd is rocking with something, you can kind of like follow it, and I think they tap that well.
Yeah, I think the Outrunners got cooled off a bit, which is sadly something that happens in wrestling when something gets over and they either don't know how to continue the momentum or they cut it off because spiteful reasons or politics or other things. So I'm not really sure which one's which in this case, but.
And they cut them off right at the time that they were at their hottest at one point. Do you know what I mean? And that's when they pulled.
It's a bit of a frustrating process. Like you could kind of feel something coalescing that could be a thing. I think that was a really weird thing where the Acclaimed peaked like 3 times, and then we're just like gone for little extended streaks.
Party when you think about it, right?
Yeah, sport prep, right? That's another great example. Like,
It's just bizarre, man. Because where is Private Party now? They were just tag team champions, and now they've gone. Like, it's just bizarre.
Yes, there are many stories like this in
That's
in the
that's the
AEW
issue.
Naked City.
Right.
So here's another one: the patriarchy. Christian and Nick Wayne, his son, versus the Learning Tree, Big Bill and Big Business Bad Apple Bounty Hunter Brian Bakeith. It's a match. It's a street fight. It's shenanigans. Wait, is this a street fight? This isn't a street fight. Do they just treat it like a street fight?
You know, it's AEW, dude. Isn't that what they do?
Yeah, I don't remember.
oh yeah, I don't think it was not explicitly like a street fight. I think it was like straight match.
Okay, straight match. All right, I get confused because it
remember-
seems like every time the Learning Tree's out there, somebody's going through a table or something. So, but there were shenanigans.
It can be whatever.
I know
It's
Mama
AEW.
Wayne hopped up. I know she hopped up on
Yeah.
the apron, and then Nick is trying out his new. I guess this is a new finisher that he picked up in the Super Juniors. A kick. You ready, guys? I'll say it again just in case you missed it. A kick. The Nick kick, perhaps. You can have that one. He gives a Nick kick to Bakeith, and the patriarchy wins. Jimmy, any thoughts on this particular contest?
Honestly, with this match, not really. I mean,
Okay.
I was
then-
just staring at it pretty much. See, that's another issue. I don't know if this happens to you, Denard, when you watch AEW on a real consistent basis, but sometimes it gets to a point where you're just staring at it. You're watching it, but you're blank. Like, you're just watching it there, but you're completely blank on what's going on. And unfortunately, this is the match for me.
I think that there are definitely there's definitely lulls. Like when it comes to, again, I kind of wonder why these things, like Collision is even the shorter show. Sometimes you're like, yeah, but what if we had like an hour? And
Yeah. Oh, boy.
We got a lot of people sitting
I
around that
just
need to not just eat all the catering. That's why.
yeah. And this was kind of like these whole books. Like I kind of get the idea that I don't know, this story where Cage is doing a bit less of the exploitative cultist, start to believe in these people or whatever. But maybe, I mean, I shouldn't strike against character development because in theory that's my whole bag. But pure atomic dickhead Christian is such a
douche.
It's such a powerful piece of medicine that I kind of prefer that.
Absolutely. And actually, the interaction we get soon when we get to it was actually brilliant too.
Yes.
Christian, that is.
Well, let's speed on to
yeah.
that. Let's speed on to that too. Unless you have anything else to say about the match itself.
Nothing else to say about the matches. Also, much now.
All right. Josh Alexander cuts a promo. Good job,
Yeah,
Josh.
why?
Okay, now we're at this part where we were talking about. MVP is impressed by young Nick Wayne, and he knows what Christian is doing, and he wants to challenge for those. He wants to be the father-son tag team champions, and his advice: don't do it. I mean, and we have ample evidence from Dynamite why you might not want to do it. But this is where Christian gets to come in and say, like, never trust a criminal.
I couldn't believe he said that.
That's
man.
his one line, and then is like, especially a criminal that went to jail. That means you got caught, so you're not even a good criminal.
He did a crazy take of going there. Yeah, it was
because it's a shoot. It's legit what he said.
Yeah.
Because you know, unfortunately, MVP was in prison for like I think 15 years, which is a long time, man.
Was it? Was it all
Yeah,
15?
it was a long time. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
It was, but that was for serious shit, armed robbery and kidnapping, apparently. So, you know,
Mhm.
he does have a TED talk. So I don't know if you guys have seen it, but he actually done a TED
I've not
talk.
seen it.
You should check it out. It's actually quite interesting. And he does credit, say what you will about Vince McMahon, but he credits Vince for, taking him away from all the street shit that he was doing, you know what I mean? And change his
All
life.
right, sounds like an interesting watch. I'll take
Yeah, you
a
should
look
check
at
it
that.
It's very good.
I did enjoy this exchange a lot. Like the criminal thing was great. The just simplicity of, hey, I see you like this kid. What if he was in One Piece instead of 5.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and there's like a nice specificity to the interaction. Like it's not just rah rah, we're gonna kick your ass. It's hey, I have this specific reaction to you as a person.
Right, but it was a perfect sort of because he was just listening the whole time. You know what I mean? Just hearing what MVP was saying, and he just said that particular thing, and that was it. Like you know what I mean? And I was just like, what the hell? You went there, like for real?
Christian always goes there. Intense.
Yeah, it was. But I'm sure MVP was cool about it, obviously.
Yes, and all MVP has to say in return to that is knowingly he says, "Good luck."
Yeah, I mean, what can you say, right?
Yes, well, he knows. Now, this is a match I should have been excited to see, but there's always something. Yes. Like I said about the steak in a bathroom.
This was so like, Vet, let's be honest.
Hechicero's in this match, Jimmy. But unfortunately,
everything had a soundboard. Like I kind of wish I could just carry one of those around. I don't know. Maybe I should use my phone more enthusiastically, but I enjoy it.
Usually, I would have gone sort of crazy with some of the soundboard stuff, but out of respect because we got obviously you as a guest, I didn't want to like overdo it. You know what I'm saying?
well, we don't want to. We don't want to turn it into wacky drive time radio anyway. Right, at least I don't. I mean? Not on my shows. You guys can do whatever you want when I'm not around. But so I got Hechicero, but I also got Rocky Romero. So it's like life is give and take. And they're taking on Brody King and Templario for some reason.
Hey, can I just say, can we stop with this dog shit, guys?
No.
There's too many guys barking like dogs in all of pro wrestling at this point. But Hechicero popped me when he started barking at the camera after he threw Brody King like away.
Yeah.
But like,
so he's a dog wizard.
He's a dog wizard.
Yeah. So and then even with the finish on this, it was like, okay, they did beat Rocky, but they should have let Templario do it. Like, who cares about Brody King getting a win? Let Templario get a win. You've treated these CMLL guys like second-class citizens ever since they've been here. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it is odd. Like, you do need to like build these guys up like in your ecosystem too if they're going to be around this much. And Templario is a lot of fun, I think. Like
But what is this Brody King? What does he get out of this? It's just he's just there to have a match, but like.
Actually,
I think this stuff is like, the CMLL stuff for right now is probably like on the petering out end. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think, they've already done the Arena Mexico show. So at this point, if they're still around just to get an extra booking, that's great. But I think as a thank you for all their hard work of coming on your show and providing, content for you, you could like let them pick up a fucking win once in a while when it doesn't matter like this.
It would be very polite.
It's so cool, right? Like, just be cool about it. They just so know, they let you put the belt on Mercedes. Can you let Templario pin Rocky Romero, please? He's done it many, many times in Fantastica Manias throughout the years. Just let him do it again.
We gotta protect Rocky, the ace of everyone.
Yeah, our matador Rocky this time it seems. And isn't he part of Roppongi Vice?
RPG Vice.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's right. Hey. RPG Vice now.
Hey.
So why was this match put together? Like, what reason was this? Like,
because it's Collision.
Why?
It's right in the middle of Collision, so we had to have this match. And these guys were here, and they showed up with their gym bags.
It's so stupid, man. Like,
I mean, I get the idea that I guess between meta stuff and the potential Darby, whatever. Brody King needs to eat some people.
Exactly, the strong win, like Vet loves saying. So it's exactly that. But it's going to go nowhere, unfortunately, for him. That's the problem.
That's a whole overarching concern. But I guess they should be trying to break out of that cage, no?
Right. It's weird, dude. I just, it's weird.
Justice for Templario. # Justice for Templario. All right. Speaking of people that had some success at CML, Mercedes here to check out Tony's little dressing room, green room, something room, kick her feet up in it, and challenge Mina Shirakawa. Just, how dare you play your music and run me off on Wednesday last night. So I'll fight you, and that's basically the short version of this. I enjoy Mercedes, as I've always said. People have been having a lot of things to say at her expense in social media and other places, but I'm still a Mercedes fan until I'm proven otherwise.
It is actually kind of odd to me, given how good she is and how she even has that whole like nerd culture thing, that she is such an eternal internet anti-favorite.
Yeah, it's weird. Though,
and I don't
right?
know what really drives that. Even my most cynical answers don't feel like complete on that front. Like
I think I know what it is. I think it's the fan interactions with her. Like, I don't know if you've seen like certain pictures, for example, when fans take pictures with her, she'll make sure they stand like a meter away from her sometimes. Like, don't even get close to me. Don't even touch me.
What?
Like, stay a meter away and I'll take a picture with you. And I think that rubs the fans the wrong way. But I don't blame her for being that way.
Yeah, I feel like I would have.
Right.
I feel like I would have like a glass screen. Like, okay, so the background check is almost done.
Right.
Then we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then you can step into the bubble. But maybe I don't know. Maybe that's it. But either way, I don't need to worry about what the internet thinks anyway. But yeah, she's a lot of fun. Mina is. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. I actually think that she's like good in the ring with this stuff. I am maybe just
captivated,
not as backed up as a lot of fans, so I'm not necessarily that pulled into her whole shtick outside of the ring. But the match itself should be fun.
It's it's nice. I'm not, maybe I didn't order it, but if it's like compliments of the chef, it's okay. If you want to shake it, shake it. That's your thing. I'm not going to stop you.
Pal.
Well, that leads us into Lexi with Toni and Mina, and Mina makes Toni promise, like all the baby faces do, no matter whether it makes sense or not. Please don't, no matter what happens in my match, don't get involved. Please don't help me. Even if it's a 10-on-1 beatdown, I have to do this on my own, basically. That's the promo she's cutting,
even
which
when
is
the
an AEW
93
classic.
Chicago Bulls all come out, each of their own table to put me through.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Do not come out.
Do not do it. Don't. No matter what Scottie Pippen does, you stay your ass in the back. So I guess Toni agreed. I don't know. I don't remember. I forgot. Okay. Now we get Megan Bayne versus Vert Vixen. I remember her.
Yeah, this was a squash, essentially. I mean,
yes, essentially, yeah. Fate's descent. Fate descended on Vert Vixen. Thanks for showing up, Vert Vixen. And no follow-up. There's just a match that happened. That's so rare in AEW that when it does happen, like it should on a traditionally or ostensibly a sports program where they just do their thing and then move on to the next thing, it's like, huh? What did I miss? But no, it really was just a match.
Oh shit! Is my DVR thing broken?
Yeah, yeah. There's some technical difficulties, but no, it wasn't. And then we go to a promo from Mr. Five Tools. He's entering the casino.
Because they normally just have a problem with the women's momentum. I'm glad that they have taken the time, because they spend all the time, hyping up Megan Bayne's whole Kratos thing, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, weird.
That I'm glad they are taking the time to just keep that chugging along.
Yeah, but
right.
They
forget that time she lost.
Right, that's the issue. That's the issue with her, man, because she was here and then they bring her straight back down here again. And then they reset and then try to bring her back up again. So what was the point of bringing it down to try to bring her back up? And they
because there is no tomorrow.
Like exactly.
We got to beat her. Toni Storm beat her with a large package or whatever it is. All right. So yeah. So speaking of packages, Mr. Five Tool, he cuts his promo. He's entering the casino, whatever. Then we get Josh Alexander versus Adam Cole Bebe. My note on this is Josh Alexander is taking clothesline bumps from a guy the size of Adam Cole. Maybe you don't. But also the Panama Sunrise can't beat the guy with the surgically repaired neck. He'll kick out of that. That's fine. But yeah, but then
not the most detail-oriented approach, huh?
No,
yeah, a little bit. Well, I can't help it. It's just it's what I do.
No, I mean on their end. I get. What you're saying makes sense. Like it's the kind of thing that's good to think about. I think like details like that are kind of what made. I don't know. We were talking about that. We were talking about NJPW before the implosion. I think details like that were kind of what made that stuff fun to follow. So I think there is really something to say for tracking that kind of stuff. I actually agree. Actually, think you have a great point there. Like this is sort of the hardcore fan show in the first place, and we're plugged into these kind of details. Why not exploit that?
Exactly right. Spot on.
Yeah, there'll be little things that wrestlers will do in a match that the audience in general won't see, but the trained eye will see. Much like as you think of things from a writer's perspective, you're going to notice things in narrative structures. You're going to notice details. You're going to notice plot points. You're going to notice all these things that the average person may breeze past because they're just there for the car chase or whatever. So like, that's the same thing with a wrestler in wrestling. If they're any good, you look at it like, geez, you liked it like this? You would have loved it if they had done this, and this. But you always come across as the old guy with the fanny pack smoking cigarettes complaining, right? That the young people don't do it right anymore. So it's important for me to explain the psychologies when I can of why those things are. And the easiest thing for people to understand is body mass and physics. So if you can get that story told, then everything else is just gravy. But Adam Cole has had this problem his entire life and Roderick Strong too, to an even worse degree, because he has a chip on his shoulder about being called small his whole career. So he'll just pick up dudes and throw them around. But here's the difference. If you're strong enough, you can lift something much larger than you. But no matter how strong you are, you can't just knock it down with momentum just because you're really mad at it. It's like Bobby Lashley can hit Adam Cole as hard as he wants to, but Adam Cole's not going to take a flat back bump if he doesn't want to. He may stagger down and slip and fall, but he can't actually put him down like a clothesline. So imagine somebody Adam Cole's size trying to knock down Josh Alexander with a clothesline. Tell a different story, guys. That's all.
So there are two really interesting things there, and I'm actually with you on both of these things. I think with media discussion, people are very all or nothing, where they just do not want to hear like any good aspect of something they dislike or any bad aspect of something they enjoy. And I think that has kind of flattened a lot of discussion online in the first place. Like, I enjoy the show, and I think you've got a great ass point about segue into point two. We've hit a really odd point with the body mass thing and a lot of things. Is I think what people, when it comes to like using a small person, is actually a cool story to tell of actually like, oh, how can they overcome this thing instead of just ignoring it? Like,
make it a story.
Like that's a good story. I don't even need to dig backwards, because like one of their lead guys, like the cool thing about the Darby versus Big Large Huge match is he just actually weaves in, oh shit, I'm small, this move's not working, that move's not working, what the hell am I supposed to do here? And then it makes his whole life shortening moveset actually matter, because he's basically doing things to get over this physical wall. Like, that's a story. That's cool. And yes. I think that it's a mistake to have this complex where it's like, I'm not even going to let like size enter the equation, because it even sort of takes away options for you, because it is actually a cool thing if you are this tiny person that, oh, how do I touch Bobby Lashley and not explode into glass?
Yes. And that's the thing. The reason that Darby Allin is so good is not because he's a crazy stunt person, but because he's a professional wrestler who has decided, I must do stunts. But he knows what he's doing and why. And when he does fly at somebody, he flies with his whole body, and it definitely looks like he's flying at you with his whole body, and that's would hurt and probably knock you over. But what he doesn't do is clothesline guys. So exactly. that's why he's better than Adam Cole at his job.
No, and he gets it.
If
he knows who
if Adam Cole is having the match with Roderick Strong. He can do that. If he's having a match with Josh Alexander, he can't. So, I mean, we're all just suspending disbelief to whatever degree, but there's still psychology behind all of the things that we suspended disbelief on in the first place that have gotten forgotten as mimicry has displaced the learning and the teaching of the craft.
Yeah, the echo of an imitation of a Xerox kind of thing.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So
that is an eternal media problem.
It is. It's a problem for everyone. And it'll only get worse because nothing gets better. Except Ricochet. Ricochet gets better. And you know what else he gets?
Ricochet does get better.
Yeah, he gets TMZ'd. They do the whole, like Mr. Ricochet, or whatever. And then before he can answer anything, here comes AR Fox. He's like, "Hey man, what the hell was that yesterday?" Because I didn't see you after the match yesterday. So he said, "Hey, what the hell was that?" And then the Gates of Agony step in and kick the shit out of AR Fox. And then Ricochet just watches this happen, and then he says, "Let's talk." So if this means that the Gates of Agony are going to join the crew, and that means that they're on their way out of the whatever this abyss that they've been stuck in job hell here, like, then I'm all for it. Yes, please join the Kaigun with Ricochet here.
The Kaigun. I agree, 100%. I mean, if it means we're going to see them and actually in some meaningful segments, I'm all for it because they've been wasted for the last how many years at this point.
And also, if they do a 6-man tag and Ricochet walks out on them, I'm also with that because that will be perfect. The perfect move. So it's a win-win no matter how the booking goes. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. What about you, Denard? Are you into it?
Am I into it? I'm into the personality. I think that Gates of Agony just deserve TV time, not staring at the ceiling. So that's cool. And yeah, it's a good development. I'm kind of interested in. I hope that AR Fox. I kind of have that little long-term investment in him, just watching him, flip around various places. I hope that AR Fox can kind of remain relevant, and we'll see what happens with that. But I am at least I at least know that Ricochet is kind of made here, and this is a good development for him, and that the Gates of Agony is also just a fun pairing for him. Again, it adds something completely different from his thing, both presentation-wise and kicking around wise. So that I think that's cool.
Bishop Khan looks like a big Ricochet with hair. I think Ricochet should be what's the word? Ricochet should be insecure about that. I think he should play up on that.
That is.
No, sorry, then I continue on, please.
Oh no, I was going to say, yeah. There's all kinds of stuff. You could have a flyby gag. It could become an actual point. Like, he is essentially someone who always has that schoolyard bully not unfurling within him.
Exactly.
It's such a small human thing, but just the idea of just this heel as someone who just wants to be cool.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's so uncool, but he knows what he's doing, I believe.
And that's the thing. He does know what he's doing to the point where he's even working his fellow wrestlers, particularly on the WWE side, for example, right?
The young OG thing, that was great.
Thanks to Ricochet, they had to go to social media classes on how to freaking do it properly. That's a fact. So
that is fascinating. Wow, I have never changed the workplace policy of a tweet. That is
That's right. But Ricochet did. And here's some people that might change some workplace policies. It's Dark Sky.
Oh, yes.
With Dark Julia.
What's the compound that you spit at someone that turns them evil? What do you...
They just keep saying mist.
Yeah.
Mist, okay.
Even though
all sorts
Mist
of
comes in
colours.
many colors,
Right.
handed down through the generations, but they just always say Mist, and then it always seems to.
Except though, Malachi Black, when he was in AEW, his mist would sort of,
Mist.
turn you into something. Like literally, yeah, it was slowly like.
You saying it was
your
Mist
soul.
Mist?
He was mist. Yeah, he was mist, all right.
I don't know. Maybe everyone has their own mixture. Like they're always adding and taking stuff out. Like, hey, what if I just throw in some bleach in here? Will that make this?
Oh
shit
god.
Ooh,
That-
yeah.
I don't
Well,
even
it's gonna
wanna know
burn
what's
if
in
you
that.
hold it too long. So
Oh boy.
yeah.
So they have. Do they have a team for their unit? The whole Sky Blue Julia Hart thing.
No,
Well-
they just both became dark at some point, and they just started hanging out, I guess, because it was like
yeah,
just
they're dark. I
you're
mean,
both dark, so you're a tag team now, I guess.
That's
and
the AEW logic, you know what I mean?
As a metalhead, I have enjoyed the fact that Brody made a theme for Julia. That's just a nice turn. I kind of wish they used the sort of active part of that song in the intro, but I'm whatever kind of nerd.
It's a bit, very serious though in a way. The song, if you get what I mean.
Mhm.
Like, it takes itself
And
so serious.
once the house was disbanded, they made sure to change the lyric to "The Heart Always Wins." So
yeah, suddenly it's not as
Gotta-
dark
attention to
anymore.
detail where none else exists. But anyway, Queen Aminata.
Maybe that's him. He's like a musician. You got to get the you got to keep the
Right.
brand. Got to keep the brand strong.
Damn right. Queen Aminata versus Dark Sky. I did have a I want to do like a quick, I have to get my shit in, the wrestling breakdown. So I'm really tired, and this is everybody, not just these ladies, but this is everybody. I'm tired of the whole like someone's facing the other direction, and then the person's like, "Come on, turn around. Come on, turn around. Come on," for like an uncomfortably long time. They're just standing there doing nothing. You don't do that. Nobody does that. What you do is, if you're a heel, you go hit them. Why would you wait for them to turn around? You're blindsiding them. That's the whole dickish thing about your character. If you're a babyface and they turn their back to you, you pin them. You roll them up. Schoolboy, O'Connor, whatever it is, just grab them and try to pin them so that you're like, technically you're just playing by the rules. I'm just trying to win. You took your eye off the ball and I'm going to take advantage. But instead, everybody just likes to, come on.
It is extremely hard not to look foolish doing that, especially if, forget win or lose, if the physical contest continues after that, it kind of makes it look like you didn't do too well in school, or
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what I can't figure out, right? Where do they think to themselves, yeah, let's just do that? Because there's no logic in doing that. It doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean? Just sitting there doing that.
You both look bad because your opponent looks bad for just standing there waiting, doing nothing. Like I have a free shot here and I'm not taking it. I'm an idiot. And then the other person's like, well, my opponent is fully conscious and I'm just not going to look at him. I'm an idiot. So you got two idiots in the ring and I'm supposed to cheer for one of you?
But it continues on though across the whole board. I don't get it.
Right. Well, I mean, what can you do? But anyway, I'll tell you what Queen Aminata does. She hits the off with her head finisher to beat Dark Sky. And
she should win too.
Right. And then Julia gets in the ring and just stands there. And then Tekla comes in the ring with music. And they all have a three-way Mexican standoff. But there's not a single CMLL person here. And then Dark Sky attacks. And then here comes TJ with music. And then here comes Megalope just to remind everybody she exists, even though she already had a match earlier. So we get a nice hit everybody's music segment. And we remember how many women are on this show doing nothing.
they might need a second match to exist. It's just kind of like a basic structural problem. Like there's no real like talent pool problem. Just to tell stories of this half of the show, the match is the basic unit of just entertainment and storytelling in this whole thing, and if it doesn't exist, they can't do stuff.
Damn, excuse me.
That's basically the story of Collision. If you notice, like if you regularly watch Dynamite, they do try to at least have something going on with all the segments and stuff. And Collision is you guys are all here, so you can have these matches part. So, I mean, it's better than doing nothing, but there's much less of that there. Lexi is with Danny Garcia and Fatty Magic, and Rocky appeals again to Daniel Garcia, like to try to recruit him into the family. Jimmy, you're already shaking your head. You don't like this.
I just don't like any of these guys, pretty much. They're just, yeah. Why? I'm so done with Danny Garcia. I don't know how you feel, Denard, but for me,
I'm extremely curious how Denard feels about Danny Garcia.
How do I feel? I think that was. It's been a strange journey. The whole almost meta thing with the dancing. I wasn't really sure we were getting at. It seems like a really long slump. Like I was enjoying kind of the basic white bread's not the word, but like sort of straight attack thing they're doing with the whole like Danielson like interaction pairing. Like he's just this athletic mat guy who's like focused on that, and then I guess somewhere along the line, it felt like they lost track of what we were doing with the dude. And that rudderlessness kind of creeps into the rest end. At least that is that's a fixable problem, but I don't know if it's necessarily happened yet.
Well, no, I don't think it has anyway.
And so that's my whole thing.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I feel bad for Danny because it's not that he does anything wrong; he just doesn't do anything right. White bread isn't the word, but I have been using cheese sandwich a lot to describe some of these guys. Like, yeah, you could subsist on it, but it's really not your choice, your first choice. But yeah, Daniel Garcia is only as interesting as who's around him in the program he's in. So instantly when you pair him with, the guy Magic, like I'm already not going to take him seriously. Right. So it's just not, that's points against him. If he joins the Don Callis family, so what? I don't know. There's just a lot there, but there's not a lot there.
A Sahara Desert kind of dude.
Yes. Liz is referring to, the ladies, let's say biological reactions. Danny Garcia.
I picked up on that in bed. That is twice as unfortunate after a certain level of fitness. Like you have to that's to be coming from your soul. But
and those dance moves too. Like God. All right. So anyway, we are finally at the main event. It looks like there's been enough talk. It's time for the main event. It's Fletcher versus O'Reilly in a battle of the Kyles. There were various Kyle chants throughout this match that overshadowed anything that these guys were doing in the ring. Some of the ones that I remember were "Whose house? Kyle's house," and "Kyle shit." And
I had a "You sick Kyle."
Yeah, "You sick Kyle." You sick Kyle. Like, don't forget, "We Kyle people." We Kyle people.
Did they say that really?
Yes.
I must have missed that, man. That's
funny. Oh, they said
That's
it.
Awesome.
So when it came to the Kyle Chad said, "This is where I'm gonna seem like I'm way too serious, a dickhead or something."
Okay.
Nah, man.
But it's really rare when it kind of shows how dumb people can get sometimes, right? Where two people who do stuff I enjoy can go out and do good things with each other, and I am just fucking annoyed the whole time because everyone is making the same Kyle joke over. Like I feel like it's like vuvuzelas at the fucking World Cup or something.
Right,
they're
just disrespectful, really.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You're right. I mean, it's the fans trying to take over the show, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they did at the beginning, if these guys were seasoned enough, which Kyle O'Reilly kind of should be, but he still comes from the
be.
generation of I'm going to get my shit in a little bit. But like, if they were seasoned enough workers, they could have just done the Rock Hogan WrestleMania thing and let the crowd chant all the chants they could think of while they just looked left to right.
No, but it adds
That would be a good
psychology
solution.
somewhat to it too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, that's not what they did.
No, but what can you do? It's Collision. Nobody's watching. So Lance Archer almost got his ass kicked on his own run-in because he came down and Kyle O'Reilly immediately cut him off and started, kicking him. And then, but finally he grabbed him and chokeslammed him or whatever on the apron. And then the other Kyle busted Kyle's brain. So your winner, Kyle. And
Kyle,
yeah.
Kyle won.
And Para Garcia comes in to save them from a post-match beating. So again, it ends much the same way as Dynamite did, where some baby faces run in and scare all the mean bad guys away. And I'm quite sure there's many more people in the Don Callis family than there are in this little menagerie of good guys, but nonetheless, they ran. So there you go.
Oh yeah, it would be cool to occasionally. I mean, you've seen sometimes even shows just go like the fight just keeps going, and it's like it's crazy here, and you cut out. And that, I think that's an ending you can like tap sometimes.
Nitro, we call that the Nitro ending. We got to go. Good night.
Yeah.
But I guess that's but I guess we went for the double beat thing here instead. There was a nice, I should say, despite the chanting bringing my blood pressure up to points that my doctor would worry about, I really did enjoy some of the, particularly toward the middle of the match, I think, interactions between like Kyle Fletcher and Kyle O'Reilly. I think they kind of had some nice stuff going on. And Fletcher is inhabiting this petulant man-child thing a little more naturally as time goes on, and I'm enjoying that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to make those notes, despite the fact that me and the Kyle chants, the joke wore thin with me 2 Kyle variations in, and then I just sort of. But now I'm talking about humanity, so that's a whole other problem.
Yeah, that's a whole other series of media, let alone one episode of a wrestling podcast. We don't have time to talk about humanity, but the Kyle match is over. Kyle Fletcher is kind of over a little bit, and I think we have sifted through pretty much all of the wreckage here.
That is the wreckage, but yeah, I've had a great time sifting.
Thank you for sifting.
Absolutely.
It's a 2-person job is sometimes hard, so it's nice to be able to take a chunk of concrete and just be able to pass it down the train to another person, and I definitely am very happy that you enjoyed. Hopefully enjoyed.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this actually. This was a very nice palate cleanser. I don't get to do a lot of live anything, so this has been really cool, and you guys are great to talk to. It is definitely a colorful topic, and yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, so
and also thank you all for the mid episode comments. I just found it. I didn't get to talk about all of them because you don't want to interrupt people, but it's pretty persistently entertaining what people come up with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. We love them. We a lot of times it's these guys here in the community that this is really what motivates us to do this, and we have a lot of fun doing it. That's why we do it live. So, but so one more time, everything about Denard Dale, but not abridged. Please let them know where they can find you and support you if they would so choose.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm Denard Dale. I'm a writer. I have a new book called How to Dodge a Cannonball, and it's a funny story about the Civil War, basically. And I think that it's a great time. You would enjoy it. If I also have a newsletter at extra-evil.com, and I am one of the guys over at 1-900hotdog.com, which is a comedy site that does a lot of long form comedy stuff, sometimes wrestling, a lot of crazy other stuff too. And thank you for engaging with one or all or any of those. I appreciate it, and thank you guys again for having me.
All right. I guess
Absolutely.
Jimmy, do I go first or no? I go first, right? I forget.
Yeah, you generally
forget how we
go
do
first.
this.
I end it. Yeah. So
Yeah, all right.
Please.
Yeah,
Vin,
at
tell them what
Opinion
you're
Haver
doing.
everywhere. You already know where to find me on HMG. You know, Next Level Wrestling Next Level Wrestling review every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern with Big Ray Hernandez. Every Monday night, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern with Brandon for the Impact Attack. Check out Wrestling with Rogers every Friday. Check out the Stevie Richards Show every Friday. Check out Timmy Baltimore's Limpin' Ain't Easy every Wednesday. Great episodes all this week for all these guys. Yeah, that's it for me, Jimmy.
That was quick, man. I couldn't even keep up with that. So that was a good one, Vet. But if you want to follow me, you can at, of course, DJ Mass Effects. But unfortunately, I can't interact. You know the story. But also follow me at the PWC Network where I can interact. Please like and subscribe right here at Hamin Media Group's YouTube channel. Share it around. You know, like and subscribe. You know, you'll be doing us all a huge favor if you guys do that. And of
Share
course,
this episode specifically. Share this
Absolutely.
episode.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody gets it out there and everybody sees it. And yeah, that's the important thing
also,
for now.
Of course, channelattitude.com with $5 not only do you get the best but the realest talk in all of pro wrestling. But Danard, before we do go, tell them what you're up to actually, if there's anything you want to also promote, even though you did kind of before. But do you
Anything upcoming?
right?
Anything upcoming, sure.
Even
So on Tuesday, I've got this article about. I found this crazy book by essentially this Confederate revanchist, and I'm putting out a Civil War book, so I thought I'll talk about that. And it is it's a very funny article in my opinion. Wednesday, I'm doing my usual thing on the newsletter, news, journal stuff. One fun thing is readers are submitting topics for fake ads for me to make. I do a lot of pranks with fake ads, and I am doing a series of those after this one contest. So that's going on. And beyond that, yeah, just the book thing is out now. Really, How to Dodge a Cannonball. Again, I think if any of my jokes here today appeal to you, that book is like that, but much more established because I guess that's my pet format. And I appreciate the chance to be here and the chance to plug all this stuff.
All right.
well, just know, Denard, man, the door's always open with us, man. Feel free to jump on whenever you feel like it, man. So, and don't be shy. Just reach out to
Thank
us.
you. I think I definitely would like to do it again. It is I don't know. It's a good energy cleanse for me.
We'll look at around pay-per-view times. You know, see when our schedules line up and stuff. So
that sounds pretty excellent. All right, and good morning, well, afternoon to everyone out there. I hope today is good. I hope that it is whatever level of boiling is acceptable to you wherever you are. It's evening out here in New York, which is pretty nice. And yeah.
Whew. All right,
Well,
Jimmy, take us home.
In saying that, I am Jimmy T. He's the best in the world. And my co-host, Jamie the Vet Williams. And that's Denard Dale.
Hey.
And please, yeah, exactly. But also, you've been watching and listening the
Wreckage.
live right here on Hamin Media Group's YouTube channel. And of course, channelattitude.com after the fact. And we're out. Till next time, peace.
Peace.